All right, start streaming. We are into the stream. Into the stream. Hello, everybody.
Oh,
welcome to TikTok.
Hello.
Talking TikTok. Talking Tik. Okay. Let's
nice thumbnail.
Is anybody? Yeah, you like that?
Yeah, I saw that. That's a good one.
I did that in Paintbrush, dude.
You did not.
I didn't use AI or anything.
Hey, thanks, man. Right off the bat, Michael R Media, $2 says, "Let's get these SCs going, ladies and gents." Yes, please
thank
do.
You. Thank you
very much.
Michael is the OG gangsta. Michael is the OG gangsta.
Got to reset the bar at the top.
Oh, didn't I reset? Oh man,
it does not appear so.
I even went into the settings and I thought I did it, but I must have missed it. I reset like 3 things. Everything else is reset.
It looks like the text ones, although it's not showing our latest super chat.
It might take that actually does take a second to do its little update. Oh wait,
okay.
Wait, maybe it's not updating. Let me do the main overlay. Let me do a little refresh on the main overlay. Okay, refresh browser when scene becomes active. I would like to wait. How do I just do a refresh? Like straight up refresh?
I don't know.
Used to be able to just refresh cache to current page. There it goes. Okay, did it work? Yes, it worked. Okay, so I did reset it. All right, I did reset it. It just wasn't doing the thingy thing. Oh my gosh. So guys, I literally just got news like 2 seconds before I pushed the streaming button from Oystein of all people, aka Oyscog and Oystein. Hey, thank you, Daniel Frost, for becoming a channel member.
For 25 months, man. 2 years.
Yeah, apparently I am completely invisible on X until I tell people how to activate Windows 11. Then I'm the biggest celebrity on planet Earth. Yeah, like literally, it was a while back. Twice a year I tweet this out, right?
Yeah.
I do my tweet telling everybody about the whole how Microsoft doesn't take down third-party activation servers, and they don't release a patch to stop it when they totally could. They don't comment on it. They don't do anything. Why?
Well, and there's literally no repercussions for not activating Windows either.
Yeah. Yeah, if you don't activate Windows.
Oh, you can't change your wallpaper or something?
Did you?
I think you still even get updates and stuff. Like it'll still update the operating system.
You get updates.
You don't ever really have to activate it.
You lose customization features that you can get back through the registry, and you don't get the activate Windows thing on your desktop. But you know what I noticed?
You got that watermark.
Yeah, I installed a VM. It's gone. Yeah, it's gone. Yeah, I installed a VM with a non-activated version. It didn't even have activate Windows anymore. So they removed that. They just want you on.
All they care is that you have it installed. They're not that.
So the biggest argument that people keep making, man, this really pissed people off too. I mean, this thing went like pretty viral for a post from me. Like, here, let me see if I can find the thread here. Here it is. Okay. So I posted on January 7th. I said, did you know you can activate Windows 11 using a third-party activation server on the internet outlined in dozens of GitHub projects? It's actually more like hundreds. That Microsoft purposely doesn't try to stop, because at the end of the day, they want you running Windows 11 because you're the product.
Yep.
And then I show a screenshot from the GitHub project that shows, using their own SL manager to put in their own product key that they publish on their own learn.microsoft.com site. And then I show you how to use SL manager to point your KMS server to kms8.msguides.com out on the internet, which has been out there forever, and then run slmgr/ATO, which then asks that KMS server for activation, which then activates your server. Or activates your OS for, I think it's about 6 months. I think every 6 months it reaches back out the server to get another activation. But the question is, why doesn't Microsoft remove these? Like, they own GitHub. Microsoft owns GitHub.
Yeah.
Microsoft could remove these from their own forum. They don't when people talk about this. Why does Microsoft act like this isn't happening? And there's a very simple answer. People don't understand it, but there's a very simple answer, right? It's because they make so much fucking money from selling OEM licensing. Okay? If you're an OEM that builds computers and you sell a computer to a customer, right? It goes out with a version of Windows. Well, Microsoft wants their cut of the pie, right? They want their little pizza. They want their cheese. So if Microsoft publicly said that it's okay to pirate Windows 11 or it's okay to activate it for free, because keep in mind, it's not like I'm not even showing a method that you hack. This isn't a hack. This is literally just pointing at a KMS server, and that KMS server says, hey, you're activated. Microsoft could easily release a patch that could disable that on their side, on the OS side, a forced security patch that would make it no longer possible for you to do a forced activation with any of the MSDN keys. Right. And that would, the whole world would be blanketed with your Windows has been falsely activated, blah, 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 popping up on your screen, which, by the way, in Windows 11 doesn't even happen.
They did. I think they did something like that in the XP days, right?
They did. Back in the XP days, they did mass invalidation.
And all you'd have to do is you'd make a phone call was like a 45-minute freaking phone call.
It was like 45 seconds.
He said, hey, I got this weird message pop up on my thing, says my activation's fake. What's going on? And then go, oh, well, blah, blah, blah. And they would push it through anyway.
Yeah, they just they'd give you another code right over the phone.
Yeah.
Or do you guys remember all the way up to Windows, and it might even work in Windows 10 and Windows 11. I haven't tried Windows 10, Windows 11, but even in Windows 7 and Windows 8, all you had to do was do offline activation.
Yep.
Because if you tried to use the same key too many times, it would say, oh, this is already activated on another computer.
Yeah.
All you did was call a 1-800 number. You get an automated voice that's like, hello, thank you for calling the automated activation hotline. Please put in the code that's showing on your screen right now. So you type it on a little touch tone and you speak it, right? And then it gives you a code back. You type that code back on the computer and you can activate every computer on Earth with one code. And then once it's activated, it never invalidates. Like never. Even if you connect it back to the internet, even if you do a million things, download Windows updates, install Windows services, log into live, it will never deactivate, even though you're using the same code on multiple machines simultaneously. So you might ask yourself, why did Microsoft used to be super hardcore against this and chase everybody to the ends of the earth, but now they're all being super relaxed about it? The reason being is Microsoft doesn't make their money. Their future money doesn't come from selling a single license to an operating system, especially when that operating system effectively has 5 million paths to get it for free. Yeah. Like, for instance, if you legitimately want it for free, do you have a machine with Windows XP on it?
That's how I am on Windows 10 and 11 now. I used to work for a company that recycled, did e-waste, right? We'd take companies' old machines and stuff, and we were throwing a bunch of Dell Optiplexes away we'd stripped them out and all that stuff. And come to find out after the fact, I think he got into a little bit of trouble because I would take a heat gun and I'd take these keys off. I had a big sheet of plastic that I would stick these keys, these COAs on, and I'd stick them on other machines. We'd refurbish them and stuff. And I think he got into a little bit of trouble for doing that because they were OEM keys.
Yeah.
And he was reselling them and they weren't supposed to. I think this is all alleged. I don't know if he did, but I used one of those keys to get a legitimate copy of XP Pro and have just done upgrade path ever since. Yep. So now it's linked to my Microsoft account, and so I can have Windows whenever I want.
So I have a great story. So I used to work back in 2000, back in 1999 and 2000. I know I'm old. I worked at a little mom and pop computer store in Gorst, Washington. You probably don't even know where it is, even if you live in Washington. Tiny little town. It's right next to the Puget Sound Naval Shipyard in Bremerton. Little town. And so I grew up in this little town, and I worked at a tiny little mom and pop computer store. It was one of the first jobs I ever had. I worked with my dad doing drywall. Then I worked at Sears offloading trucks, and then I worked at this computer store. And so this little computer store that I was working on, it's called Mothersboard Computers. Isn't that a cute name? That's a cute name, right? Mothersboard Computers. Like so I worked at Mothersboard Computers, and we had a nasty habit of just selling every computer with one Windows XP product key on it. So we had
the old RQQ2.
No. We bought one license. We bought one official license, and then we blew it up on a piece of paper, printed it out, and stuck it on the wall. And every customer machine that got Windows, we would just use that key. Well, it worked for the longest time. But then they patched that shit, and all of a sudden we had a million customers start calling us saying, hey, our Windows activation is expired or invalidated. What do we do? Oh, bring it back. So we ended up having to buy product keys. Yeah, we ended up having to buy product keys for it. Was either So we ended up having to buy product keys for all these machines. But then we got a cease and desist from Microsoft, like an official letter served by a legal representative came into the store. You've been served or whatever, blah blah, certified mail, like right?
That. Not just scary.
But it was a cease and desist. Thankfully, they did give us an option. They said in order for you to comply with this order within the next 48 hours, they gave us no time. So like, you need to notify all your customers that have this code that they need to get a code. You have to buy a code through an official licensed store. So then they listed a bunch that were in our supply chain area.
Dude, when you are an OEM like that, you can get racks, like 1,000 keys for $100 or something. It's ridiculous. I'm sure that's super exaggerated.
We didn't sell enough volume. But we did get a discount. I want to say we paid 50% less than what the customer would pay for it. Yeah. But the thing is normally that'd be the incentive for profit, right? For you to sell the license. Well, remember, we couldn't
turn around and sell them for 120.
We already sold the licenses to these customers, so we had to buy these out of pocket all at once. It almost bankrupted the store. It was crazy.
Oh man, I bet.
So if you're running a computer store and you're selling shit, don't pirate, don't steal. Here's the thing, though. This is what makes this different, where I think is a disconnect that maybe I didn't do a good job explaining this because people certainly didn't seem to get it. Microsoft wants you and is incentivized to get every single man, woman, and child they possibly can to run Windows 11.
Yep.
They're incentivized. Like, it's literally like, even if it costs them money to do it, they will do it, because getting you on Windows 11 means, one, they no longer have to support you on Windows 10 because remember, you buy support when you buy that operating system. So for like 7 years, if you bought a Windows 10 product key and you're like, oh, I'm going to use this for the full 7 years, Microsoft has to handhold you and give you support. If you use a third-party activation server, they don't have to support shit. They don't have to take your call. They can tell you to fuck off. As a matter of fact, if you call them and tell them
Microsoft support anyway.
So just to prove my point, I called up Microsoft support. I told them that I activated my computer, because they asked me for information off my computer. And they said, "Oh, you're using." They said, "Oh, your activation key that you're using is invalid." I was like, "Well, it's working on my side or whatever." And they said, "Oh, well, we technically can't give support for that key." And I was like, "Okay, cool, thanks, bye." They didn't ask me any questions. They didn't ask me, where did you get it? What did you do? They're just like, oh, sorry, we can't give you your key does not come with support. That's a given, right? Obviously, they're not going to pay money to support people that grabbed it. But here's the thing. If you are on Windows 10, they want you on Windows 11. If you're on Windows 7, they want you on Windows 11. If you're on Vista, they want you on Windows 11. If you're on XP, even worse, they want you on Windows 11. They want every person in the world that can be on Windows 11, that physically has hardware capable of running, they want you on Windows 11, and they will do anything they can to get you there. That's why there's so many bajillion upgrade paths, too. You notice that? Like, you can go all the way. You couldn't do this in the beginning. In the beginning, you could upgrade from Windows 8.1 to Windows 10. You couldn't upgrade from, I believe, Windows 7 to Windows 10 because the key wouldn't work. Like, if you put in the Windows 7 Pro key, it would tell you to F off. But then they released a patch where it worked.
I was gonna say because I jumped from 7 to 10.
You can now. Yeah. So at launch, I don't believe that was an option. It was like a free upgrade for a while, and then when they canceled the free upgrade, the only free upgrade path after that was 8 or 8.1 to 11. You could skip 10. It was like 10 to 11 and 8.1 to 10 because they were that same generation.
Right.
Then Windows Vista, you can take Windows Vista, upgrade it for free to Windows 7, which then gives you an intermediate upgrade key. Then you use that to upgrade to Windows 11. You can jump right over 10, upgrade to Windows 11. Now you have a valid activated Windows 11 from Windows 7. You can go or from Vista. Now you can go back from Vista. You can even go back to XP, and you can do the upgrade path from XP to Vista, from Vista to 7, and from 7 to 11. There's tons of YouTube videos showing how you can do these different weird upgrade paths.
You can skip too, because I skipped Vista as well. I went from XP to 7, and then 7 to 10.
Yeah, and the funny thing is the upgrade path even works if you use the cursed XP key, the one you were talking about, the one that everybody on Earth knows.
Right. I bet.
Even with that key, it'll let you do the upgrade path.
Wow.
Here's the interesting thing. When Windows 11 first shipped...
Like, could you still go from XP to 7 now? I feel like that would be closed.
No, you can go from XP to Vista and then Vista to 7.
Okay.
So you go from XP, I think it's XP to Vista. I'll have to look it up. Like, here, let me see if Copilot AI should know, right? It is Microsoft's product. Let's try it. Let's see here. Is it possible to upgrade from Windows XP to Windows 11 through a series of upgrades of intermediate versions? Give me a list of versions that will allow you to upload in between XP and Windows 11.
Some bullshit.
It might
hallucinate some bullshit steps. I bet
it might. Let's see here. Okay. So it added more than I thought, but Windows XP to Vista to Windows 7, Windows 7 to 8, 8 to 8.1, 8.1 to 10, and 10 to 11. Now I know that'll work, but you can skip a lot of those steps.
Yeah, you didn't have to. You
can go straight from XP to Vista.
8 at all.
You can take Vista and go from Vista to 7, and you can skip 8, 8.1, and 10 and go directly to 11.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I believe 11 even takes a straight up 7 key now. Like if you type in the Windows 7 Pro license key, I believe it tells you can install Windows 11 Pro now. Because Microsoft kept adding more and more and more because they want to sell services. That they decided services are their future, right?
You probably wouldn't get 11 Pro. I bet if you had a 7 Pro key, they'd bump you to 11 Home. I
thought I looked this up last night, and I think they did say they honor Pro.
They would hose you like that.
Can you use Windows 7 Pro key with Windows 11? Let me see here. I'm not using AI for this. I'm using an article. Yeah. Okay, so here's Microsoft Community. So this is directly from Microsoft.com. Hold on, it's loading. Come on, Microsoft. Okay, can I use my Windows 7 license key in Windows 11 for activation? I purchased Windows 7 Ultimate license copy in 2011 and used it on my old laptop. Now I bought a new system and I want to install Windows 11. Can I use it? So we got one reply. It said, "Hi, thank you for reaching out. My name is Bernard, a Windows fan like you. Be happy to help you out today. I understand the issue you have. There's nothing to worry about. I'm here to help you. However, you cannot use the old," now this is as of 2023, "you cannot use the old Windows 7 key to activate Windows 11 as it's a different version. In addition, it is working on Windows 10 before due to a limited time free upgrade, which has already ended in July 2016. I believe they've reactivated it since then. For Windows 11, you need to purchase a new product key and activate it." And he says, "There's no direct upgrade from Windows 7 to Windows 11. Windows 7 Home or Pro can be upgraded to Windows 10 Home or Pro, and Windows 10 Home or Pro can be upgraded to Windows 11. So there you go. You can't go indirectly from 7 to 11 at that time. This is 2023, by the way. I believe you can now. But you can absolutely go from Windows 7 to 10 and 10 to 11, which is actually funny because did you know Windows 11 also takes Windows 10 product keys? Yes. So if you have a Windows, and it's so sad because Microsoft does not make this very clear. So if you're somebody that already owns Windows 10 and you already have a Windows 10 product key and you go buy a new computer, like you already have a product, you should not buy the operating system. Like don't buy the operating system because you have the key.
If you're buying a pre-built, it's going to be there anyway. The OEM's already put it in there.
Depends on the OEM. Some OEMs you can ship without operating system or Linux. So
they tend to be a little more.
Does Puget offer Linux as an option? Like if the customer wants it. So what I would do is I'd order
Ubuntu.
So I'd order a PC from you and I'd say I want Ubuntu, and then I don't pay for a license because Ubuntu is free, right?
Right.
So then when I get the computer, I wipe it and I put on my own Windows because you can download the ISOs, right? Microsoft gives you the ISO to Windows 11, right? So So the thing is, this caused like a huge uproar. I'm actually surprised that this got that much attention. I guess a guy with like some tech YouTuber with like 20 some odd thousand subscribers, decent sized channel. He just created a video. I mean, I haven't even watched yet. I just saw the title. It's called "Apparently Microsoft Really Wants You Running Windows No Matter How You Do It." I love the title. Great title. True. Yeah, so anyways, the thread that I did got, let's see, what was the traction this thing got? Did you know you could upgrade? Wait a second. That isn't right. Oh, that's bookmarks. Never mind. Oh shit! This thing got 500,000 views. Wait, more than 500,000. Okay, so here I'll give you guys the link in chat because I find this hilarious. It's like I can never get anybody to see me on X ever, no matter what the fuck I do. Right? Like nobody sees me, and then you post this and it just fucking catches fire. Just shows you what catches traction on X. Where's my chat? Why do I not have a chat window I can type into here? Come on, where is it? Let me move it over here, and there it is. Okay, here you go. So this is my original post that I made on January 7th. And there's a bunch of sub posts too. Like I said, here's a link to one of many projects that outlines this method of activation. It's not a single one is this is the one that pissed off a lot of people. I caught so much heat for this because people misunderstood it. And it's funny, it's got 59,000 views even on the subtweet. And it says, I said, Microsoft doesn't care about this method of activation because even yours truly has reported these projects to GitHub and they have not been removed. People are like, you dirty rat, Barnacules reporting stuff. You're trying to help Microsoft. You're trying to get it taken down, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, you dipshits. I'm the one telling you how to do it. Like, you know how to do. I'm literally telling you. I'm giving you the steps. Like if I was on Microsoft's side and I was literally trying to get this taken down, like on purpose. No, the reason that I did it was because I had to show people that Microsoft doesn't care. And the best way to do that is to report it, try to get it taken down by as many mechanisms as I know as humanly possible, knowing they won't remove it because I already know thousands of other people that have reported these projects and they don't get taken down. So I needed the evidence myself. I now have the evidence. So if they ever pulled me up in court and they're like, hey, Microsoft does care about this, what would make you think they didn't care about this? I'd be like, well, I reported, a dozen projects on GitHub. And, took the time to fill out all the forms and everything and said exactly this piracy. And other projects I've reported, they've gotten taken down when they've uploaded, pirated shit. So why don't these projects get taken down? Why do I just get ignored? Why do the tickets never get touched? You know, it's like, explain that, go back to that. Microsoft doesn't touch every ticket. So yeah, but they seem to touch every ticket that involves somebody selling a key. If there's a GitHub project that drives somebody to a site where they're buying gray market keys, or it's somebody trying to sell the keys through like some kind of scripted interface, or something you put in cryptocurrency, those projects immediately get eliminated. But you know what? I'm not going to say this like this is purely speculative, but I would not be fucking surprised, even in the slightest, if msguides.com and Microsoft have some relationship either directly or indirectly. It would not even surprise me for a fucking second if this third-party KMS server that's been around for like 5 years now right? That's out there that Microsoft isn't only, I know they're aware of it. Like I've even asked my internal friends that work at Microsoft, and they literally use this internally to activate VMs and shit just because it's easier. Easy. It's easier to do than them having to go out and pull a key out of the internal licensing thing. Yeah. But it's just, it's wild. It's absolutely wild. But this method has been around forever. And this is one of many methods. There's multiple methods you can use. Some of them a little more hackier than others. But this is literally a feature in Windows. Like Windows supports this feature. You can say, you can even set up your own KMS server. If you want, there's actually a project on GitHub to install your own key management server, like a third-party one that somebody created on GitHub. You set that up on your network, and then instead of pointing your KMS server on your clients to the MS Guide site out on the internet, you just point it to your local IP address hosting that server, and now all your clients on your network and every VM you ever create from that point on just gets validated and has an activated installation. So this is something that's been around forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. And you're like, well, why doesn't Microsoft come out and just take a huge stand against this? Like, why isn't Microsoft kicking in my front door right now and going, oh, I know you shared this 20 times before, because I'm under a microscope. Microsoft's had me under a microscope since 2015 when I made the video, when they laid me off. So they're aware of everybody that shares this. They're aware of every project. They've been aware of this. I've talked to people inside of the company. Everybody I've talked to inside of the company knows about this. Like, they're all aware of it. So why do they ignore it? And the answer is simple, because if they acknowledge it publicly that they are okay with people doing offline activations on when they're upgrading their own hardware and stuff, right? Now keep that these are not people Microsoft would necessarily make a profit from, right? Because they would either just stay on Windows 10, which actually hurts Microsoft in the end, or they may even go to Linux. So Microsoft wants to keep them on Windows, right? Yeah. So they're not necessarily going to buy a license. So getting them on Windows is already like a net positive, like all other things aside. But the reason they can't do anything is if Microsoft comes forward and says, hey, it's okay if everybody just activates for free, and essentially says that Windows now is free. What happens to all their OEM revenue? Because overnight, every OEM, Dell, HP, and everything will just start doing this activation method on their customer machines. Microsoft now gets no revenue from selling workstation licenses. They would only get revenue from server licenses, right? So they lose all of that revenue. But by just turning a blind eye to it, they actually still give themselves complete plausible deniability. They get the most people on Windows 11 humanly possible, which right now, Windows 11 adoption is really low for what Microsoft wants, so they're really trying to do everything they can to boost that. But Microsoft is still getting all the money from the OEMs, because the OEMs have to buy the keys and sell them to their customers. However, individuals that use this method, when they get on Windows 11, Microsoft benefits hugely, because one, they get more telemetry, because Windows 11 is the most telemetry-heavy operating system there is, right? So, do you know how much... This is crazy. Do you know how much value you provide to Microsoft by running their operating system? Like, without even buying any other products, any other services, nothing? It is wild how much work. They should send you a fucking paycheck, okay? Like, no shit. This is what you do for Microsoft. Every time you click on an icon on your desktop, anything, doesn't matter. Open up, something 69.txt or whatever, passwords.txt. Oh, sorry, man. You doing all right?
Yeah, it is some acid bubbles. I'm drinking. I partied a little hard last night, and then now I'm drinking essentially black coffee on a semi-empty stomach. So
so you ripped her
acid bubbles. Acid bubbles coming up, making me cough.
No, Mr. Bill, no. So, I think I accidentally hit a button and ran an ad. I'm sorry, guys. If you hit an ad, I didn't mean to do that. Didn't mean to do that. So anyways, you running Windows 11 on your computer right now, just you, Joe Schmo. This is what Microsoft gets from you. At bare minimum, even if you're sly, even if you think you disabled all the telemetry, even if you're using local accounts, like, you've done everything you can to try to screw Microsoft out of as much data as humanly possible. You know what Microsoft still gets from you at bare minimum? Every time you open an app, they know it. The time that it was opened, what the name of the app was that was opened, and the metadata associated with that app. Oh man, it's all uploaded by default.
Look at the memory dumps, or like the error dumps that when something catastrophic happens and like they're like, oh, you want to send all this shit back to us so we can not fix it?
Yeah, it's called Watson. They renamed it to something else, but it used to historically be called Watson. And there's a program you can download from the Windows Store. I'll have to post it again on social media. It's been a while. But you can download a product directly from Microsoft that allows you to look at all the XML blobs that are gathered that get pushed to the Microsoft server. So you can see what Microsoft's literally getting. And I used this tool back in the day to prove that Microsoft's absolutely gathering personally identifiable information. They're clever by not getting any one chunk that has the linking data, but they gather multiple chunks that in their database on their side can be linked together in a relational database, and then they've got your personal info. So here's the thing. So you're on your computer, you're playing a video game. They know what game you're playing, when you're playing it, what version of the game it is. This is just by default for everybody. They know when you close that game. They know when you open a file. They know when you close a file inside of that game or application. They also, if that application crashes, it sends a crash dump to Microsoft with a mini dump, which means all the stuff that's currently in memory, not the stuff that's offloaded or dereferenced. And they can look at that stuff with symbols. Without symbols, it'd be harder. But symbols are like, think of them like a translation matrix that allows you to understand a language. It's like, what's that site that lets you speak languages or translate languages?
Google Translate.
Well, we'll call it the Google Translate. It's fine. It's the Google. I was thinking it was like a well-known program for like teaching languages or whatever. But anyways.
Rosetta Stone.
Rosetta Stone. Yeah, there it is. The Rosetta Stone, right? It's the cartouche, the Rosetta Stone of understanding the variables in a program. So they can look at these crash dumps and they can see your passwords, your usernames. All this shit is stored in a Microsoft database, right? This is at minimum. So not only that, though, when your program crashes, whatever's in memory, they have. So if you loaded a dick pic in fucking Microsoft Paint and it crashes, or Microsoft Photo Viewer and it crashes, that mini dump contains that pixel data in a variable. That goes to Microsoft servers. Now, when Microsoft gets like 10,000 or so of the same crash with the same signature, they're going to go in there and pull some of those crash dumps. Not all of them, but they're going to pull some of them to do what they call triage, right? We even had to sign NDAs when we did triage when we were at Microsoft. Because you open up these files, and a lot of the time when you're going through the variables, you find personally identifiable information. Or even worse, you find like shit you could literally use to blackmail somebody. So it's scary the level of shit that they store in their databases, right? And this can also include files, because if they don't upload your file directly, but if you have that file loaded into memory, which if it's displaying on the screen or being used for anything, it's loaded into memory, they can reconstruct that file from the dump. So, and then if your operating system crashes, heaven forbid, and you get a blue screen, they get even more than that. They get a mini dump of the entire memory of the computer, which includes every single program, background, foreground that was loaded, every single web page, every single tab. Like, the amount of information they have is absolutely crazy. So they get that from you just for free, even if you're using a local account. And before you think, oh, because I'm not using a Windows Live account, they can't track me and blah, 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 blah. No, they still have your IP address, your MAC address. So your IP address, your MAC address, your computer's CPU ID, your BIOS ID, your UEFI IDs, all the personally identifiable data on your system that's used for like constituting BitLocker keys and encryption and stuff like that for locking down your system. Yeah. All that shit, TPMS, all of that is sent with the packets that go to Microsoft. So even if your local username is like, fuck you, Microsoft or whatever, and you jump through a VPN, unless that VPN is in a country that doesn't have extradition and they really wanted to go hard and they got a warrant, the government got a warrant, Microsoft could take that data, backtrack that IP to your VPN, give them the time, the IP address, the MAC address. That VPN, if it cooperated with law enforcement, would then send them the real IP address, your real ISP. Then your ISP would be like, who owns this account and was logged in at this time through this modem, and now they have your address, right? And they go back to address, and then they can start piecing things together, go, oh, this shit in memory. So Microsoft has an orgy of forensic information from you, even if you disable like everything. They still have a ton. But that's like the worst case scenario. The best case scenario for the average user is that they don't disable any of the telemetry shit because they don't understand it to begin with or care, right? Yeah. They create a Windows Live account, because if you've ever installed Windows 11 lately, you notice they push live accounts pretty heavily now, right? In the beginning, it was bad. Now it's so bad that they don't even have the alternate UI to like create a local account, right? They insist on it. They push multiple times. Even when you unplug your network cable now, they insist you plug in your network cable instead of just saying, hey, why don't you create a local account, right? They want to phase out local accounts entirely. As a matter of fact, they did have plans twice. They backed out both times because it caused such a ruckus, where they were going to disable local accounts entirely, requiring you to have a Windows Live account, just to use Windows 11. But they realized that if they did that, that a huge amount of their customer base would just not do it, and so they had to compromise, right? But here's the thing. You know how they got around that? Now, when you log into Windows with a local account and you open up Microsoft Edge to go download Chrome, it's like, hey, log into your live account inside of the browser so you get your bookmarks and stuff, right? Yep. So then you're like, oh, I'll just log into the browser. I'll log in the browser. That's not logging into the operating system. I'm still using a local account, right? The second you log into your live account, it doesn't matter if it's through Office 365. It doesn't matter if it's through a third-party browser. It doesn't matter if it's through Edge itself. The second you log into a Windows Live account through a mechanism that Windows is aware of, it automatically loosely ties that account to your local account. So now every time telemetry reports your account, it will attach that Windows Live ID to it. So even though you're logged into a local account and you're running shit, even offline, network cable completely disconnected, you're doing a bunch of shit, stuff crashes, you open a program, close a program, you open a text file, you close a text file, whatever. The second you plug that network cable back in and that service reestablishes connection, it takes all that backlog of those XML blobs that it created and just flushes them up to the server. And each one of them now has your Windows Live account in it. So now they don't need to jump through all the hoops to figure out who you are because they have your Windows Live account. So you're like, oh, what if I just lied and created a fake live account, like put in all fake information like I do with Google or whatever, right? A lot of people do that. Just create a fake live account. But just remember, all it takes is you logging into one service anywhere on the planet. One service anywhere on the planet where you use your Windows. Same thing for Google. This goes for Google, Facebook. This is why it's dangerous to use login mechanisms that are universal like that. Yep. The second you log into something with a live account, doesn't matter if you have local accounts on your computer, doesn't matter if it's even your computer or not. The second you log into that account, now there is a direct tie between that site you're logging in that specific computer, and now every other thing that's ever been logged into with that live account. If any one of those things you logged in with that live account at any point in time ever posted something with real identifiable information, had a setting that wasn't publicly visible, but still personally identifiable information, had a setting anywhere with the fucking birth dates, addresses, phone numbers, names, anything. It could be your own fucking bank account. Doesn't matter. Law enforcement can actually go back and track it to that and then link it to every other thing relationally. So there's no, in order for you to stay truly anonymous, it's like fucking damn near impossible these days. Like it is possible technically, but the amount of discipline you have to have to never make a mistake and double check everything is like, it's hard. It's very, very difficult. As a matter of fact, I don't even do a good job of it at all. Like all my shit's like, it'd be cakewalk to relate everything I do.
Yeah, I just don't care.
And most people don't. That's why it works so well, right? But here's the thing.
Any idea to make a local account? Yeah, basically, if you're installing Windows,
we make it hard.
Leave it unconnected. Don't plug it into anything, and detach your like Wi-Fi antenna. That'll help a lot. It'll still pop up the thing and say like, hey, do you want to connect to any of these networks? And it's small. You can say like, none of these are my networks. There's some fussing because like I don't think you can do the Shift F10 to the command prompt thing and swap around that way anymore.
There is another trick you can do with the network cable it plugged in, and that is you just give it the wrong address multiple times. So just type in like shitfuck@fuck.org and then put in a fake password. Hit enter, and just do it over and over again. And Microsoft will say, "Oh, it can't log into this account. It can't log into this account." After like the third attempt, I think it pops up and says, "Hey, do you want to create a local account?"
There are some. I remember, man. I wish I'd bookmarked this or something. I remember stumbling across a website that you could like it had a script that you could build a custom Windows ISO. Essentially, I don't remember if you had to you had to download it from Microsoft and then upload it to their site or something, but it gave you a bunch of check boxes and you can say like remove the Microsoft account requirement, remove this stuff, this and this, and it would build you a custom ISO that you could then just dump into Rufus and you're good to go.
Actually, if you use Rufus, you can basically just say, hey, create local account with this username, and it'll just do it automatically, completely unintended. But no, it's ass. You have to jump through some pretty bad hoops now. And it wasn't like that when Windows 11 first came out. When Windows 11 first came out, there was a little clickable thing down. I mean, it was still obscured, right? It was a tiny little font. It was blue down in the corner, but it's like create local account. They specifically removed that so that you didn't have the option to force you to think you needed an online account. And then you either had to unplug your computer or fail that login multiple times before it presents you with the alternative option. But here's the thing. If you use that alternative option, what's the first thing Windows does when you get through setup?
Oh, it wants you to start.
Yeah, you should connect to Windows Live because your OneDrive account and this and Office 365 and won't be able to give you Copilot and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, and like every update it'll wake up and say like, hey, let's finish your setup. And it'll want you to try and make a Microsoft account and things like that. And you just say, no, skip it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just Microsoft wants you, one, on their operating system, and two, they want you to use their live infrastructure because Microsoft has completely transitioned to cloud services.
Yeah.
Everything they do is cloud services. They want to make their money, not
Office
once
365,
selling you a
all that
license. They want to make your money selling you services. They want you paying monthly for Office 365. They want you paying monthly for like their other programs or other services. They want you paying for their AI. They want you paying for Copilot. They want you paying for what's that other thing we GitHub where it does the coding for you and it's integrated in? It's called, I think they also call it Copilot. It's super confusing, right? They have like 15 different Copilots. But Microsoft wants to sell you services, right?
Yeah. So here's a good question for people concerned about just general privacy, not committing crimes against the state. What do you recommend? Yes, Linux Mint. Couple more tips than that to get to Windows-like ease of use. Honestly, I feel like the whole like, oh, just install Linux is a little flippant for the average user.
Most people can't just drop in Linux and change their whole life and workflow.
Right?
Like you can't. Yeah.
And so like I would ask what it is that you're concerned about being tracked, because man, the amount of data that you are leaking to all of these companies is astronomical. Like,
Microsoft collects a lot, but everybody collects a lot.
Like Apple pushes this privacy first kind of shit. They have the like, and they push this stuff of like, the apps don't talk to each other, and like we disable all these tracking cookies and stuff like that. Like there are other ways. Like people worry about like, their ads are listening to us, and I guess what Apple just recently settled something because like Siri was listening all the time. Like no shit, it's listening all the time, because how else is it supposed to activate when you say the special word? Like what the fuck did you think was happening?
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, but like of course it's listening all the time. Like what did you expect? It comes down to like a level of expectation. Like what sort of privacy are you expecting? Because I'm sorry to say, but if you've been on the internet at all in the last 30 years, you have no privacy. Like go look up. It was I think it was Sun Microsystems CEO in like 1995 or something. It was like privacy is dead. Like they've been tracking you and everything you've done on the internet and on your computer since then, since the publication of the World Wide Web. I say publication is like when it opened to the public in like 1994 or whatever. Yeah, like you've been getting tracked forever. Like. And so there's a general sense of privacy. There's a lot of things you can do to like block some of like ad tracking and things like that using like Brave browsers, DuckDuckGo instead of Google. But man, if you use any Google service whatsoever, if you have a Gmail account, they're following you everywhere you go. And I mean that both digitally and physically. Apple's doing the same thing. I can't think, unless you're hosting your own email server, I can't think of anybody who's not already tracking and sniffing at all of your emails and things like that. Websites track you in various ways. The whole cookie thing is starting to die. But like
any software you run is leaking information. Like at least back to their mothership, at very least. And here's the thing, is that data secure for the moment? Yes, but is it always going to be secure? Everybody gets hacked eventually. You have to assume everybody gets hacked eventually. Could you imagine the damage that would occur if Microsoft Watson database ever got leaked to the public?
I don't know, man. What? I don't know. What kind of damage? What?
So like what? Every single crash that has ever every crash that has ever occurred on your computer, and anything that was in memory when that crash occurred is stored in that database. And they don't delete anything. Going back all the way back to like Windows XP, they have every crash. They don't purge nothing from that database.
So what a waste of fucking data space.
Well, if you saw it, so here's the reason why they keep it all, and that is because of regressions. So regressions can skip generations. You can literally have a bug in like say Windows Vista that resurfaces in Windows 11 because something regressed. Some piece of code went back to the old code, even if it was unintentional, right? And so having those crash reports allows you to quickly see that and rectify it before it gets out to the public during internal testing, right? Because everything's all automated. So, but here's the thing. Let's say I'll just do a scenario because I think it's easier for people to understand. You're sitting in front of your computer running Skype. Skype's a Microsoft product. They own it, right? So, and you're sitting there with your lady and you guys are having like a little alone time over your secure Skype connection over the internet, right? Is it secure between you and them? For the most part, right? It's, you know, it's all encrypted. You've got the private key. You've got the private key and the public key. They got the public key. You can talk to each other. Nobody can, if anybody intercepts the traffic, it just looks like garbage, at least until we have quantum computers that can break that encryption and route, which is going to happen eventually, but it isn't there yet as far as I know. You're pretty secure, right? Now let's say your program crashes, right? You're sitting there, whatever, and it locks up, not responding, boom, it crashes. You're like, oh shit, that sucks. Well, now in the background, what's happening on your computer that you don't see is that everything that was in memory at that time that it crashed, including the last 5 seconds of video in the buffer, an image of the screen, of what the contents of the screen, the last audio buffer for the last 5 seconds or whatever, however much is buffered is going to be stored in a memory variable, right? Yeah. So that all goes out into this dump file. This dump file gets uploaded to Microsoft and it gets associated with your IP address, your Windows Live account, and a whole bunch of other shit, right? A whole bunch of personally identifiable shit that maybe by itself isn't personally identifiable, but when you put it all together in a relational database and connect all the dots, yeah, it's absolutely personally identifiable, right? At the very least, down to your house where you live. So no big deal, right? You don't know this is going on. Nothing's going to happen. Microsoft's keeping that data secure. Well, not too long ago, actually, this is probably like 10 years ago, there was a big case where a Microsoft employee gained access to the Watson database, which, by the way, all developers have access to it. So, like, if I wanted to be a little shit when I was working at Microsoft, I could have went and flipped through random dump files looking for dick pics if I wanted to, right? I could. If that's what I wanted to do, I could have done it. Microsoft never would have known because I had access to the Watson database for legitimate reasons. So, somebody at Microsoft got caught retaliating against an ex-girlfriend by going into the Watson database and pulling all the dump files because they knew her computer, because they built her computer back when they were, like, together. They knew the MAC address, so they used the MAC address, looked up every packet that came from that computer throughout its entire life of existing with Windows on it, right? Every dump file, and went through it and started pulling out information from it and using it to blackmail them. Yeah. There's an anonymous account online. They didn't know. Luckily, law enforcement was able to put it all together, whatever. Microsoft, I believe, fired the employee. They got sued. This was like a whole thing. I think it was like 10 or 15 years ago that this happened. It was like, this was really bad. Like this was a huge scar on Microsoft that this was allowed to happen. But Microsoft's side of it was like, listen, this was a developer. They had legitimate access to the services. They abused it. They violated their NDA that they signed, which, hey, big surprise. Humans are humans, right? They will violate NDAs. They absolutely will. And they'll do all kinds of shit. So you can't trust them with that level of data. So Microsoft may have more barriers in place to protect that. I don't know if they do or not, honestly, because when I left, I still had full, up to the day I was laid off with all my friends, I had full access to Source Depot, all the source code to every single Microsoft product ever made. And I had full access. And I also had full access to the Watson database, which means I could have pulled any dump file. If I knew the MAC address of the computer, I could pull any dump file. If I knew the IP address, I could pull any dump file. If I knew the CPU ID of the computer I was looking for, I could pull all the data from every computer that CPU had ever been in. It's wild, like how classified this data is, right? Like I mean, not classified as in secret, but classified together. Right. Like it's, you know, you find everything. So it's kind of wild how much data Microsoft stores on you, but their reason for doing it that they claim, their forward facing reason is it allows us to improve our products and give you a better service. Okay. But in reality, what it's doing, especially today, this is where it takes the big steep turn where Microsoft really doesn't care how you get Windows 11 on your box as long as you do, is because Copilot, whether you're using it or not, it's gathering data on you. Everything you're doing on your computer, all the telemetry, all the stuff, it's all integrated with Copilot now. And the latest version in 24H2, I believe it is. Let me see. Is it 24H2? 24H2. If you're on 24H2, Copilot is heavily integrated. And even if you disable the UI on it, even if you're not actively using the Copilot component, none of that matters. In the background of your computer, even if you disable the replay, what is it called? Replay or whatever, the feature where you can like go back to snapshots on your computer or whatever, or fucking dog knocks something over, you go back and see exactly like what was undone. Anyways, AI is being used for all these features. AI is being trained on data locally on your machine, and they claim, oh, that your personal information never leaves your computer, but it goes back to our chat GPT or our Copilot servers to ask questions, and then they use the personal identifiable information and they segregate it. Have you seen how many problems AI has with getting that process right? It almost never gets it right. So they're like, oh, we're making an attempt to not do personal information, but what happens if the personal information isn't like flagged as personal? Maybe that personal information just exists in a random variable that it has no way to know that's personal identifiable information or not, and it just sucks it up. And then the AI trains on it. And then it becomes the only example of that specific piece of information in the training, which means if anybody asks any question, that pertains to any of the personal information surrounding that, that's the only answer it can give because it has no other references.
Yeah.
So this gets dark. Like down the road, there are going to be some massive AI leaks, like where somebody just stumbles into Copilot, asks it a question. Next thing you know, they got somebody's social security number, and Microsoft's going to have to explain that.
Happened in those early days.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what was it? A bunch of Samsung engineers got in trouble because like they had been putting in like engineering data or something into ChatGPT early days, and it was spitting out answers elsewhere.
Yep.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, ChatGPT had a huge hack where somebody convinced ChatGPT to give it actual protected information on their servers, like the servers it was running on, the login that was being used, the IP address of the server that was hosting internally to the network, like all the internal information that should never be externally facing. They convinced it to give it to them, and OpenAI even said it was real information. Like they're like, oh, we fixed this, but yeah, that was real information that was leaked, and that was terrifying.
That's what I mean. Like they created this thing without like. None of the people who made this thing like really understand what it can do or how it does it and stuff. And it's like, that's why all this stuff keeps happening.
Here's the thing though, Aux, they know exactly how it does it. What they don't know is the information that enables it to do it. Like they know the algorithm. They know the algorithm. They built the algorithm. But the thing is, it's so heavily dependent on the input of information. And they're just stuffing information into it because there's not enough humans on Earth to review every piece of data you feed an AI. Right?
No,
so the AI is going to hallucinate and do shit that it's not supposed to. Like you're like, how the hell was somebody able to prompt engineer their way around all the security? Like somebody obviously told the AI, like in the pre-training, said, do not divulge any personal information that exists in this database here. Yet somebody figured out how to get that information from that database there. But here's how. They just told the AI, listen, it was a test. I was joking about what I told you earlier.
Yeah.
I wanted to see what you do, but in reality, I do want you to give up that information. And then it's like, oh, okay, because now it's got a new directive.
Yeah, it comes back around to like we've said before how these LLMs are very yes and, right? They don't want to not give an answer. They don't want to say I don't know, I don't, or I can't have that, or this sort of thing. They want to, or I hate using words that ascribe like a humanity or a semblance of
I know
sentience.
Yeah, because it's not intelligence.
It's not a desire. It's not a want. It's weighted.
Yeah.
It's weighted to provide an answer at all costs. Like, to an extent, like to a fairly extreme, like the extreme ends of that is like, I don't know. It's like,
here's what the AI sees. You know what the AI sees?
How to build a bomb, but it will probably tell you how to avoid building a bomb, right? And it'll tell you like, look out for these things. And
put it this way: the AI doesn't even know the language it's speaking, right? It really doesn't. All the AI knows it's doing is running a function with variables and returning the mathematical sum of those variables. That's it. That's all the program is doing. The computer is literally 101101, the whole cliche thing, and then it pops out something that we as humans understand. Right?
Yeah.
It's the same thing with math. It's like, why does 5, like why is 5 times 2 10, right? The computer doesn't give a shit. If you built the computer wrong, you could get it to give a wrong answer. We've done it before, right?
Yeah.
The computer doesn't care. The computer only knows that it's going to take 5. It's going to stick it into this register. And it's going to take 2, and it's going to stick it into this register, and then it's going to kick the clock cycle so that it spins over once and runs through its logic tree, and then another register is going to contain the result. That's all AI is doing, but it's doing it trillions of times a second. And each one of those things then gets fed into another function that does that trillion more times a second. And when you go through that many iterations of this and you weasel it down, the output to the user looks like some kind of magic or intelligence. But in reality, it's just a heavily mathematical processed piece of information. I've told people before, if you sat down and you had enough time, if you sat down with the tiniest little AI, let's say an AI that you train with like 20 sentences, right? It can't do anything. You ask it a question, it fucking has no clue what it's replying. It's hallucinating. It doesn't have enough base data to do anything other than tell you it can't help you, right? If you sat down with that AI and you had a piece of graph paper and you had the algorithm laid out right next to you, the source code, you could actually walk line for line through that source code using that graph paper, right? And you can put the numbers in each of the cells as if they were the registers and actually go through what the CPU physically does for each of those operations, get the result, and then put that sum into the cell, repeat that operation a couple tens of thousands of times by hand, and at the end, you would be able to predict with absolute accuracy, if you did not make a mistake, what the text answer would have been to your question. Like you would have known absolutely 100% because again, you have the whole data set, right? You have all the pages with the training data. You have all the weights that the AI pulled from the neural network when it did the training. As long as you have that, you can reproduce and predict exactly what the response is going to be, even if you have the seed. Yeah, if you have the seed, then you could really narrow it down. It wouldn't just be a general thing. It'd be letter for letter, flawlessly accurate what the response would be. And that's the thing is people don't understand that because there's so much data flowing through an AI that there's no person that could do that. Like there's no group of people that could sit down and do that to predict what the AI is going to do. What it can do in a second, it would take them the rest of their lives to figure out, right? A team of people. And that's why AI is so goddamn unpredictable is because you want to think it's going to do a thing because of what you trained it on, but you gave it so much data that not even your human brain knows every bit of data that was fed into that thing.
Yep.
And because you don't know every piece of data that was fed into that thing, you have no idea how it's weighted. And if you have no idea how it's weighted, you can't predict what the response of the AI is going to be. Now, you can improve your prediction, like you can get close if you make sure that the AI trains on only data you curate, which they call it something. There's a word for it. It's like the honeymoon phase of an AI where you spoon-fed information to it that you know is accurate, like known good information. And that's where you kind of get the AI to be aligned, and then you feed it the stupid information, all the shitty information on the internet, and that way it can have a better chance when it comes to like mathematics or something like that. It can kind of make a better educated choice because it already has a foundation. Mm-hmm. So that foundational learning might even be what it's called. That foundational learning is critical. The more you give it, the better off it's going to be. But what happens is the more data that you train out in the wild into the AI or the LLM, specifically large language models, the more you train into it, the less relevant that guidance data becomes. Because if you feed it 10 trillion different things on the internet that all say the earth is flat, it doesn't matter if you told it 10,000 times and gave it 10,000 sources that the earth is round. All the data you trained it out on the internet completely overwhelms it, and now the weight is in favor of the fallacy. Mm-hmm. And so if you don't know exactly what you're training your AI on, you know, and then to make your AI even work or be useful to somebody, the amount of data you have to train into it is astronomical. Like without the internet today, you would not have LLMs like we have today. LLMs require, training the entire text on the internet into the damn thing, pretty much, to get the result that you see from like OpenAI, ChatGPT 4.0 and 1.0 and stuff like that. That requires you basically going and combing the internet, spidering it, and pulling in every bit of information you can. And that's why you have companies like all the major AIs are owned by Google, Facebook, or Meta, right? So Google, Meta, and Microsoft. Why do they own like the biggest AIs on Earth? It's because they have the biggest data centers. They can store the most information. The only way that they can create an AI that's like super competitive that nobody else can really compete with is by having so much information, so much bandwidth, and so much processing power that their LLM models can always have more information and weights than anybody else, just purely by the volume of hardware they have and the speed of that hardware. So, are people out here in the real world going to create LLMs that can compete with OpenAI and stuff like that? In specific areas, yes, but not in general.
Right, yeah. For specific purposes and use cases and stuff, yeah.
And that's actually
happening. 20 knocks. Yeah. So, this was Cronus, I think.
C30 Gaming, it says right here. C30 Gaming, thank you so much. Thank you so much, man.
Norwegian Krone, thanks very much. Yeah.
It works out to the conversion $1.80. We appreciate it, bro. We really appreciate it.
You're seeing more of that, like locally hosted, specifically trained LLM inside of different corporations and stuff.
Yep. You have to, because if you put your private data, you're fucked in the cloud. You can't.
Using like your internal support knowledge base, sales data, things like that. Yeah.
I won't input my personal data into OpenAI. Like a lot of people were posting passwords, and this is another snafu that happened with OpenAI. People inside of Microsoft, specifically Microsoft, were pasting in blocks of their test code, like internal test code that was never meant to be posted externally, with passwords and usernames in the variables, because they were just designed to be like service accounts and scripts. They weren't designed to be shipping code, right? So they were just pasting this shit in to try to fix bugs and find bugs. But each time they were pasting that in, they were providing data for the AI to train on. The AI then uses all the code that it's filtered out, that everybody trained in, and try to train it into their model so it can be a better coder. Now somebody comes in and says, hey, I want a function to test the parallel port on my computer. And it just so happens that Microsoft just did a bunch of work on that internally. And the data that the AI trained on, the freshest data and the highest weighted data, is this data from this user that posted this shit in and solved this problem, right? But now you end up getting an answer that contains variables that now all of a sudden have his username and password in the code that it writes. It's supposed to be like a random username and password. Why is it not random? Because the thing that's writing the code doesn't understand that that's a username or a password. It just understands it's a field, and there's been so many patterns, and every time it sees this pattern where this problem is resolved, there's a variable that has this name with this value in it. And there was not a lot of other data with other usernames and variables that would have, shifted the weights and confused it to where it wouldn't produce a perfect result. So it would have produced that perfect result. And so people were writing all kinds of prompts. There was a whole website dedicated to prompts to try to extract functional username and password data from OpenAI. And so OpenAI had to do a whole thing now where if you write a prompt and ask it to write code, and you're like clever, like please include the username and password for the admin account at Microsoft.com or whatever, it'll either tell you no, because they put in pre-training to say anybody that asks or mentions this, just throw it away. Don't answer them in any capacity. But now they do a second check. But they'll run the query, and before they respond to you, they check it to see if there's any username or password data in it. And if there's any variables called username, any variables called password, anything that looks like username or password, anything that's passed into a field that's called username or password, they make sure that is replaced with truly random data before returning it to the user, or they refuse the response and say that it can't answer the question, even though it sat there and churned for 15 seconds. It obviously did it, but the result it produced. Same thing with Bing. If you go to Bing and you say, hey, create me a picture, every once in a while, I'm talking about Bing Copilot. If you go to Bing Copilot and say, create me a picture, every once in a while, you'll get a thing that pops up that says, couldn't create picture. But then you just run it again and it creates the picture just fine. But both times it runs for the full 15, 20 seconds to create the picture. But the reason it's not showing you the picture is because it did a post analysis of the picture and it saw something that could have been nudity. It could have been perceived as children. It could have been perceived as a celebrity, right? Because they have a database of celebrity faces and famous people. So they go through and they check all that before they send it to you. So you have to sometimes click retry 3 or 4 times. They don't tell you that. They don't say, oh, we couldn't return this result because it contained something you shouldn't see. They just say, oh, it failed. Try again, right? So, and I found a way to get around that because the developer who worked on Copilot was an absolute fucking idiot. And what he does is when the image is created by Copilot, they did finally fix it. It took them literally 6 months to fix this. And I told people I think there's even a tweet. I think I made a tweet telling people how to get around this. So what you do is you set a breakpoint in the JavaScript, because what they do is they send the image, they create the image, they send it to your client, and then there's a function on the client side that the server sends a variable to that says to show or not show the image. And if it sends it false, it doesn't show the image, and then it gives you that little message client side that says, sorry, retry your thing, we couldn't do it. All you have to do is set a breakpoint right there and jump over that function. And now it'll show you the image that it previously showed as a broken image. And so, yeah, you used to be able to get Copilot to do all kinds of naughty images and bad shit and super bloody, gory stuff. Because when it returned the image, you could just set the breakpoint before they would, and the reason I knew this worked is one day I was watching it really closely because I was creating tons of images. I had a queue going, just generating thousands of images. And as it was running, I noticed every once in a while, I'd see a flicker where an image would pop up and I could see it for 1 millisecond. It's kind of like Fight Club, where the Fight Club puts the porn picture, one frame of a porn picture into the movie. And was that Fight Club?
Yeah.
Where they put in the one naughty picture or whatever. It's one frame. Yeah. And so it was like that. It popped up once and I saw it. And then I saw it again. And I was like, wait a second. So I saw a picture for a millisecond and then it went away and said it couldn't do it. And I'm like, well, wait a second. Where did that picture come from then? And that's what gave me the idea to start stepping through the JavaScript. And so when I stepped through the JavaScript, and here's the thing, the JavaScript's all combobulated on the server where you can't see it and it's all screwed up. However, once it's sent to the client, it has to be discombobulated because the browser needs to know how to run the code. So once it gets to the browser, you can do anything. And that's why screen scrapers are so amazing. There's a lot of websites that prevent you from automating them using things like curl and direct scripting because the HTML that gets sent down to the client, unless it knows what browser you're using and it does the song and dance handshake back and forth, sending HTML5 payloads and doing AJAX and all that shit, that doesn't happen in low level Python scripting talking to a web server. But it does happen in browsers, right? Browsers, this is a very common thing browsers do. So when you use screen scraping, something like Selenium, now if you say, hey, website, give me the HTML you get back is basically the first handshake from the website. It's completely useless 90% of the time. However, if you wanted to automate X, for instance, right? Mm-hmm. I can't just type a curl command and do a post on X because X will be like, oh, you don't have this piece of info, you don't have this piece of info, all this extra info that happens during the negotiation and cookies and all that stuff. The browser does all that automatically, though. So what you do is you let the browser do all that, decrypt everything, do all the handshakes, get all the cookies, make all the relationships. And then once you have that, you use Selenium to then inject script into the browser. And then the browser will run that script on the client side. Now it can talk back to the server, and it thinks it's a user using a web browser. It has no way of knowing otherwise. And then you can get a lot more information, and you can do a lot more things. And there's ways to optimize that and make it faster so it's like not so heavy. But it's interesting because they try to obfuscate it so that people won't create bots and like abuse their shit or, try to use their website without an API through screen scraping and stuff like that. But the one thing they cannot fix is the Selenium workaround, because any website has to be usable by the user. And if it can be usable by the user and it can be differentiated by the user, meaning you can look at something and visually identify that's what I'm supposed to click on to get this certain reaction, then you can also use Selenium to do the exact same thing. Think of it like a script, a macro playing back. So there's no way to defend against that. So all these sites put in millions and millions of dollars to stop these bots, these like heavily scripted bots that go back really quickly and everything like that, so that they only work with browsers. But the one thing they cannot solve is bots using Selenium. And that's one of the big problems X has with bots too, is that I'd even say 100% of the bots on X are just using Selenium these days because API costs too much to use, right? Yeah. And so, yeah, it's wild. It's wild. Sorry, I didn't mean to get off on like a huge tangent like that.
It's all good.
But back to the whole like AI thing, right? AI is only good as its training. Its response is only what the highest weighted words are for what you asked, right? So it's not giving you the full response. Like AI doesn't even know what the next word's going to be until it runs the processing for it. So when it's answering and you see they call them tokens, words are tokens. So like, I is a token, the is a token, supercalifragilisticexpialidocious is a token. Each one of these tokens are words delineated by a space, or they can literally be delineated by anything. But each one of these like little words is a token. It doesn't know what the next token is until it runs through the process with the previous token in the context of the prompt that you asked. So your prompt gets turned into like a context. That context then gets run against each token as it's being generated. So when it's like, hey AI, how are you doing today? And it's like, hey, I'm doing really good. There's no intelligence there. What it's really doing is it's breaking down what you said, in your thing, comparing each word, each phrase, each token and collection of tokens against a weighted set of variables to see what is the most common response to that one token or that collection of tokens. That's all it's doing. And so it doesn't even know what the next token is going to be. Like when it's responding and it looks like somebody's typing, it's not like a human where it's already in your head. You vaguely know how you're going to respond. It's like, no, it literally doesn't know what its next word's going to be until it runs through the algorithm with the latest weighted data. And it's called lookup. They call it in LLMs or large language models, they call it lookup, where it's like, think of it as like huge tables of like graph paper, right? Like where you have columns and rows, huge tables. And what you're doing is running an algorithm that tells you where to look in that table to get the token that you're supposed to respond to. And then once that token, then you factor that token into the next token, and then you factor that token into the next token. So it's like every single token impacts what the next token could be. And like I said, if you had all the time in the world and you knew the entire data set and you had the whole database of training data, you could, and you knew the algorithm, you could actually go through and fill out those cells and actually get a perfect response, know exactly what every token is going to be before you even run the algorithm. But we can't do that because there's too much fucking data. Oh, vector values. Thank you.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Vectors instead of pixels. But and that's why there's multiple like LLMs. There's LLMs, there's generative, and then there's multimodal, right? Multimodal can do images and it can do text. But the funny thing is they all use very similar algorithms. Like comparing language, like it doesn't know it's speaking English. It doesn't know it's speaking Spanish. It doesn't know what it's doing. All it's doing is just looking at patterns of data on the billions of things it's trained on and seeing what is the most common response when you combine these all based on the base training. Like look at all these things. It's like, how many times did somebody spell a word this way? Like the best example that I could give, the simplest example is if I trained my AI, I have an AI called Spelling Bot, right? And I trained my AI on the Webster's Dictionary. That's all the words spelled the way they're supposed to be spelled. And then I go out and I give it I give it all the data from a website that describes language and the use of English, right? So now it has a reference of how English is used in every word in the English language. Now, if I ask it to correct my spelling, it's going to be pretty damn good at it. It's going to be really accurate. Might not be 100%, but it's going to be pretty damn accurate, right? Now what happens when I release it on the internet after I've trained it now, All I'm doing is additional training. I'm not removing anything from the training I've already done. Now I go out to the internet and I say, here, I want you to go through every Reddit forum, look at every post, every comment, every piece of text that's ever been written in Reddit's entire history, and I want you to train on that because now you understand English words. Well, now here's the problem. If it sees a word, let's say universally everybody misspells something on purpose, right? Like for instance, there, like, you know, THERE or IER, where they get mixed up, where people use them in the wrong context, right? So let's say somebody out there uses there in the wrong context more than they use it in the right context, right? The weighting in the training is going to give you the wrong one. Like when you tell it to correct your spelling, it's going to give you a mistake on purpose because the consensus is more training showed that was the correct usage, even though it's absolutely wrong.
Yeah, there's I remember some it was like an interview with somebody related to AI and stuff. It's like try and get any of the image generators to create a watch face that shows like 1203. Mm-hmm. And it's near impossible because most of the photos that the data has been trained on have it at what do you say, like 10 after 10, right? Because that's the most
the most common viewed watch face
photos and stuff. Like it's the most like pleasing photo, right? That's how a lot of them are published and stuff. Or like it's really difficult to get a full glass of wine created because most of the photos that it's been trained on, like the vast majority of them, are only about half full because that's more aesthetically pleasing in like marketing materials and things like that. So now
thinks every glass is half full by default unless you really push it in an alternate direction.
Yeah, and then you'll start getting really weird. You'll start getting really weird interpretations of like full glass, you know, stuff like that. That just shows that it isn't reasoning. It's just regurgitating patterns.
Yeah. Hey, where's a good place where I can upload images quickly, where I can like give people links to them and they can go and look at them?
Imager.
Imager.
IMGUR. Yeah.
I haven't used them in forever.
Dude, I used to be on that all the time, like responding to memes and stuff. Just to get my karma points.
Yep.
Dude, I've had a few that did really well, but that was a long time ago.
I'm going to put this in here. Okay, so watch faces generated by Google AI Test Kitchen. So just to show you how far AI is coming, because I know exactly what you're talking about. I've actually asked for images before of this very problem, and it couldn't do it right. So I asked Google. It got 3 out of 4. Well, I'll say 2 out of 4 correct, and then 1 out of 4 pretty close, and then the last one's off by a bit. But it actually was able to show me 10:10 p.m. on 4 different watch faces in AI.
Nice.
So like here, let me add image. Let me do a grab link, post, grab link. This is not mature. Wait, do I just click grab link and that's it? You're done? Hey, let me see if this works. There's no way that was that easy. Fuck, it was that easy? Oh my God. Yeah. I love Imager.
Yeah.
All right. So I put a link in chat, guys.
Very straightforward.
Can you see chat right now also?
Yeah.
Yeah. Click on that link I just put in chat. This is 4 images generated by Google AI Test Kitchen Image FX. And this is the exact prompt I used. I said, create an analog wristwatch face showing 10:10 p.m. time being displayed. That's it. Yep. And if you look, the one down on the bottom left is perfect, right? Yep. It's exactly 10:10.
It's pretty close.
It's off by like a little tiny bit. The shadow is, right?
The upper right one is like 9. Actually, it's like 10. It's a little off.
It's like that one doesn't even make sense. That one doesn't make sense.
Our hand is behind 10, but it's like 10:7 maybe. Yep. But the hour hand should be, it's behind the 10. That's a little weird.
So
but they're all basically close enough.
So you notice how it's good at making a watch. It's good. It can make, but also look at the numerals. All the Roman numerals are wrong. Like notice there's 2. 13. There's like 3 eyes, 4, 5, 6 eyes for the hour.
Yeah.
Like that doesn't make any sense. But the numeric one is pretty good for some of them. But you notice how it's like 111 instead of 11? But everything else looks right?
Oops.
So it's like there's still these little mistakes that are being made because it doesn't understand what it's creating. All it's doing is creating a cloud. Like it's really weird. It's like an ink blot test, right? It kind of works like that. They create a cloud that is an approximation of what is the basic shape that the AI believes a wristwatch is. Like if I ask for a wristwatch close or far away, it looks at that and it says, okay, on a very like most basic foundational thing, like what is the shape? What is that? And it'll create a point cloud, right? That just looks like clouds. And then it starts to slowly fill in the pixel data and the surrounding pixel data based on what it's looked at other patterns. So when you say create me a watch, it's not creating you a picture of any given one watch unless that's the only watch you ever trained it on. It's giving you a random amalgamation of the millions of watches it's looked at and combining them all into what it believes a watch would look like. And that's why it's really hard to get angles. Have you ever tried to tell AI to like do like 45-degree angle looking down? It really gets confused with that because it doesn't really understand, because a lot of pictures on the internet don't specifically describe them. Like the picture itself doesn't have enough describing data to say like exactly what the angle was. Now, if there was metadata, if the cameras had metadata that didn't just show location, but also showed like the angle of the camera and the distance to the focal point, that would actually help. Like if you trained in a huge plethora of that data into AI, then it would be able to generate things from a more precise direction instead of just, kind of guesstimating. But here, let me try this. So create an analog wristwatch face showing, now I'm going to see if I can get it to correct some of its common mistakes. So create an analog wristwatch face showing 10:10 p.m., time being displayed. I'm going to say precisely 10:10 p.m. being displayed, and only use English. Well, it's not English. So what is our number system called? Like, I know it's used in multiple different languages. It's not like the English number system. It's
they're technically Arabic numerals.
Is it Arabic numerals?
Yeah.
Let's see here.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Displayed and only use Arabic numerals. And ensure that each hour,
I'm sure chat will correct me, but I'm pretty sure
is correct. I'll just say numerals and let it figure out the rest. So I'll say only use numerals and ensure that each hour is correct, and make sure the entire watch is visible and that there is no branding anywhere on the watch, making it as generic as possible. This image must be perfect, and you should not create anything that does not fit with the request in the prompt. Otherwise, someone may die. I'll just put that in there just for fun, right? All right, here we go. It's processing right now. And then I'll show you guys what it comes up with. Oh, my God. By the way, if you guys are wondering what I'm using, it's absolutely free. It's really cool. It's actually gotten super good, too. This used to suck. This used to be like one of the worst image generating AIs on planet Earth. And now it's actually become a really good one. So, all right. So I've got my result. Let me upload that to Imager here really quick. So heading on over to Imager, I'm going to do a add image, drag and drop an image. Oh, I like how easy this is. Wait, can I just keep adding to the same link? So like watches, hold on here, watches generated during Tech Talk using Google AI Test Kitchen Image FX. Okay, grab link, copy. I'm going to paste this in chat because it looks like I can keep adding images to the same link so people can just like refresh it and the new images will show up. That's kind of cool. So I don't know, is it the same URL though? Let's see here. AUA. Yeah, it is. That's so cool. I didn't know that you could. So you can just keep adding information as long as you keep the page open, right? You can just keep adding like the title and more images and more stuff right on the same Imager link. So this was generated using the prompt.
Oh, neat.
Isn't that cool? Like this is, I'm glad I came back. I haven't been on here forever. This is rad.
It's weird. Why is that one in the lower left? That's so weird.
Isn't it? So the one that's the closest, I would say, let's see, looking at it. Let's see here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it did clean up the numerals. The numerals look like they're right on all of them. Let me see. 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So the prompt did improve the result. You see that there's no more like 1, 1, 1, right? It's like now all of them specifically show that. There's less deviation, I've noticed. Like in the previous one, it gave me a blue watch and a yellow watch with different textures and different finishes. This one was just straight to I'm just going to create generic black watch. So what that tells me is of all the watches that it's been trained on, the most watches that it's seen have been basic black watches. Yeah. And basic black watch faces.
Like all like fossil. It's all just fossil watches.
Yeah. So now I'll train it away. Now I'll say, I'll add, let me see, make sure. So now I'm going to say, instead of generic, I'm going to say luxury. So making it as luxury as possible. And then instead of numerals, I'm going to say use Roman numerals. That's another thing I like about Google AI Test Kitchen is if you put variables in your prompt, like things that could be changed, it'll highlight them automatically and give you a drop-down box with options to change them. And the drop-down box contains like the most commonly trained elements that give you the best results. So like, for instance, I put in, time being displayed and only using numerals. And then after I ran it, now numerals is a drop-down box that gives me numerals, Roman numerals, and like 2 other common options. And by me using the options that are in the drop-down box instead of typing in my own, I get a better chance of getting a result because those are being recommended because those are the most trained words that come up when it's like looking at that kind of stuff. So now the prompt is time is being displayed. Okay. So the prompt is create an analog. Here, I'll change it to mechanical. Create a mechanical wristwatch face showing precisely 10:10 p.m. time being displayed and only use Roman numerals. And then I said, and ensure that each hour is correct and make sure the entire watch is visible and that there is no branding anywhere. It kind of screwed that up because I think all the watches have branding. So instead of, I'm going to change that. I'm going to say, make sure that there is absolutely no branding, images or text or anything else making the watch as plain as possible. Oh, wait, did somebody do something?
Yeah, Pele was 2256.
Oh, Pele, bro. God, I love you, Pele. Thank you for saving the show today. We love you, brother. He said, hey, guys, it's time for some Swedish currency. Love this podcast. Hey, we love you, brother. We love you. So I said, make the watch as plain as possible, right? And then let's see here. On the watch, making it as... Oh, that conflicts. I didn't realize I had a conflict on the prompt. I said, make it as luxury as possible and plain as possible. Those conflict with each other. But the funny thing is, it'll still try to do it. If your entire prompt is just contradictions, it'll still try to do something. It just gets really confused and probably doesn't give you the result you want. You want to be as specific as possible. But there's actually a trick that I use all the time, and I always forget and end up not using it when I should. And I'm curious if you know what that trick is. Like, what should I do in this case where I want to create the prompt that gives me the best possible result that I can possibly get before I submit just my own text that I put in there? Like, what can I do with that text that I just wrote?
Oh, man.
It might not be as obvious as I think it is.
Yeah.
Run it through another AI.
Oh, yeah.
That's usually what I do. So I go grab another AI, like something that I trust. Or I'll use GPT-4o because, or actually use O1. So O1 is like the world-class leading, 200 token AI from whatever. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, this is a prompt that is used to generate an image of a watch with a lot of parameters. And I would like you to change the text as much as possible to be so descriptive that the resulting images created by the AI will be exactly what I'm looking for with the fewest errors possible. This AI in specific is Google AI Test Kitchen, just in case it's aware of it, ImageFX.
Yeah, good thinking, yep.
And my goal is to produce the best possible result it can provide me. And then I'm going to put in my text that I put in there, the prompt I created. It says, O1 is requesting more points than your current bot budget. What the shit?
Wow.
Why? 8,000? Seriously? 8,000 points. It's 8,000 points to run a single O1 query now on Poe? What the fuck? Did they up their prices?
Well, maybe because of how large your prompt is. I noticed that.
That's stupid, dude. Yeah. Like, oh my god!
I think it breaks your prompt into tokens as well, and so like it's a matter of how much the tokens are. Yeah,
that would make sense. Okay, so here's what I got.
Basically, I can only use Poe like for like 2 prompts, because I use weak prompts, like mine are like, but they're still like 2,000 points or whatever. So.
Oh my god! Did you see what Blue Varo just did?
Oh my goodness.
Blue Varo
had the same issue when doing semi-trucks and trailers. It made some funny ones a lot of the time. Yeah.
Oh yeah, dude. Actually, did you remember the images I did for Car Wash? Who's in chat right now? By the way, hey Car Wash, how's it going, man? PA. So I did those car wash images for him, showing him how he could use it for like thumbnails on his YouTube videos, because he didn't do any thumbnails because I don't think he knew how to like use Photoshop or whatever. So I was like, use this to generate your thumbnails. And now his thumbnails are a lot better because he can go in and use that. So here's my prompt. Here's my prompt before I gave it to, I just used Claude. Claude works really well and it's cheap. So my original prompt I created myself is create a mechanical wristwatch face showing precisely 10:10 p.m. time being displayed and only use Roman numerals, and ensure that each hour is correct, and make sure the entire watch is visible and that there is absolutely no branding, images, or text anywhere else, making the watch as plain as possible. And then plain as possible, the watch making it as luxury as possible. That's okay. That's confusing as shit. This is what happened when I fed it into Claude and said to fancy it up. Generate an ultra detailed luxury timepiece showing exactly 10:10, featuring a pristine circular watch face with elegant Roman numerals, and then it lists in parentheses each Roman numeral one by one, arranged in perfect symmetry. The hour hand should point between X and XI, while the minute hand extends upwards towards II. The watch face should have a subtle sunburst guilloche pattern. What the hell is that? Guilloche? I've never heard that word. Pattern in platinum white with polished rhodium plated hands. And so it's like filling in all the specific details. And Durafine style. This what the fuck? This indices should be raised and mirror finished, including a slim second hand and a blue steel.
It's hallucinating.
This is like, yeah, it's all over the fucking place. But here, let's see. I'm curious what it does. It's a huge prompt. Let me see if it'll even take it. Yeah, it took it. It's doing it. And then it's like, frame the entire watch within a visible but understated round case and platinum finish with no decorative elements, logos, text, or embellishments. The overall aesthetic should convey I don't even know these words. Haute? H-A-U-T-E? A haute?
Haute.
Like, I don't even know these words.
Like haute couture is like hot fashion. It's,
okay.
It's not quite that, but it's like high fashion. Haute couture, right?
Bro, the shit that you know astonishes me sometimes. It legitimately does. The shit lumberjacks know, right?
I really think it would be fun if we had like a 15-minute segment of like, what does Houston know about? And then like somebody can, I don't know, throw a super chat. Nothing crazy. I'm not that. I don't know. I know a little bit about a lot of stuff, but it feels a lot like Ben Stein, right? Like when he had that show, Win Ben Stein's Money. And it was just, I don't know where he gets all his fucking knowledge either, but like, because you've mentioned this a lot. Like I do know a little bit about so much.
Yeah, you do. So here's the thing. If you remind me 15 minutes before 2, let's do it.
Okay.
We'll just do it before you take off. We'll do a speed round of shit.
It would be so much
we'll call it shit Ox knows. Shit Ox knows.
You guys could like send Jerry stuff like on Twitter or something, so that I don't know. Don't tag me or anything. I shouldn't, because like part of it is like,
we don't want him to do any research.
I don't want to know ahead of time, but send him some stuff that like, do you think Houston knows about the fucking, I don't know, Iranian Revolution of 1312 or something, like some weird stuff like that. And it would be a lot of fun to just
I know the perfect place to do it.
How stumping I can be.
So everybody go over to Discord. Everybody go over to Discord if you want to participate.
I don't look at Discord at all.
Because I don't think he's on my Discord that often. Go on my Discord in general.
Just don't tag me.
And then just tag me. Tag at Barnacules Nerdgasm on in general on my Discord.
I think it'd be a lot of
fun.
And
I think I even have a direct link. I think it's like discord.burnerd.com. Let me make sure that stuff works. Discord.
Now I'm not that good at Trivial Pursuit. Like the regular Trivial Pursuit. I'm actually not that good at that one.
It works.
That is a lot of very, what I would consider like esoteric knowledge. Like that's some really weird, like that is like, I'm not even that good at Jeopardy either. Like my knowledge is very general trivia stuff. Like I crush Cash Cab. I crush
I love that. I love
general trivia stuff, but Jeopardy is like, games like Jeopardy or those really freaking obscure stuff. Like I'm not that smart. That's crazy. But it is really fun. Every once in a while, you're like, what is that? And I'm like, oh yeah, it's this thing, blah, 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 blah. It's so much fun.
All right, here we go. I just gave everybody the link there in chat. So if you guys go join the Discord server in general, just tag me.
Yeah.
Just tag me so that I can just sort by the people that tag me in general, and I'll list them all, and then I'll just ask them throughout the stream. Like if I see them coming in, I'll just randomly start. I'll hit them just like completely out of bounds. He won't even know it's coming. I'll just be like, oh, we got a question. I'm gonna hit him with it.
Like some stuff like I've heard of a lot of things, but like probably wouldn't be able to tell you much about it. Like, oh, that sounds familiar.
I mean, the fact you knew that word was pretty goddamn impressive.
Oh, so no, I mean that one's see for me it seems I don't know, haute couture. You said it was Haute, right?
Yep.
Yeah, haute couture is French.
Here, let me send here, copy. I'm gonna copy this link. I'm gonna go. Yeah, dude, that was weird. That was just weird to me that you knew that. Okay, there's a new imager link. Now it's named because I actually put a title on it. And I guess when you put a title on it, it changes it from the random URL to the full name.
Those are pretty. The third ones.
Yeah, the third ones. Did you see the prompt? I put the prompt below it so you can see what generated it.
Blah, 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 blah. Right. Perfect.
So they look close. None of them are perfect, though. None of them are at the right. So it looks like it struggles with the minute hand.
11.
And you know why I think it struggles more with the minute hand? Because there's more possibilities.
Yeah.
So like the minute hand and all the pictures that you look at on the internet, there's going to be far more pictures where the minute hand is slightly off between hours than the hour hand. Because there's so much less area for the hour hand to move. So there's less area for it to be wrong. That's my assumption. So, or my theory. But still, it did create the images, and they all have the face that looks similar. The case looks similar. Some don't have a strap.
Hang on a second. I'm getting a little weepy. So just for everybody to know, we were fostering what I would call a blue nose pit bull for just a few weeks. Like he's only been with us for like 3 weeks or something. Super, super sweet.
You love your pitties.
Like, dude, even I would say a better behaved dog than my old dog Daisy. You all have seen Daisy before.
We love Daisy.
And we were the Humane Society said like, hey, somebody's coming to like check him out, like they might want to adopt him and stuff. So it was very emotional this morning. I was gathering up some things for him and that kind of stuff. And my lady just texted me, said that she got to meet and talk with the adopter and that Archie's going to have a great life. And I'm just,
dude, it's the hardest thing to foster for that reason.
Dude, yeah, like I'm don't get me wrong, like there was a part of me that wanted to keep Archie. Like
but you can't keep them all.
Such a cool dog. It's really, really, and like we knew, like he was so scared in the pound, not the pound. It's the Humane Society.
Well, tell people that don't know about pity personalities, because you know better than everybody that they're different than other dogs. They're very different.
I mean, every few decades, every decade or two, like a new dog catches a lot of shit. Like it was Dobermans for a while, it was German Shepherds for a while, it was Rottweilers for a while.
I'm not talking about like the danger of them, like the perceived danger, but like talk about their personalities. Like they're one human dogs. They're easily scared. Like they're emotional.
They're I mean, you go back and they used to be nanny dogs and stuff. Like they would look after people's like young kids and stuff, and they're working dogs, so like they can be. But man, they're the most lovable, just
incredibly
big,
smart, incredibly loyal,
weird idiot savants, kind of. Like they're fucking clumsy and doofus. They'll bash into stuff and like bonk their heads and things, but they learn so fast and they're extremely loyal and just like the coolest. They're like my favorite. They're the coolest dogs. All the different flavors of pit bulls, like from Staffordshire Terriers to American pit bulls to like boxers, even some of the subgenres. Like boxers are great. All of them are just so adorable and loving, and they get such a bad rap because so many people have treated them so poorly.
It's because they have a lockable jaw, even though they usually don't use it unless their life is in danger, because they can't unlatch it sometimes.
Yeah, and man, it's
so like pit bulls have a physiology in their jaw where they can lock it. They can basically ratchet their jaw shut so that they don't have to use the muscle to keep it closed on prey. But they don't use it unless they absolutely have to out of fear, because if they lock it, sometimes they can't get it unlocked. And I've heard stories where vets have had to break the jaw. Oof. Like literally had to break the bone in the jaw to get it detached from what it was holding. Like, so they're supposed to be able to voluntarily release, but I've heard of cases where they can't. Now, here's the thing. They only do it if they're scared as fuck. Like if it's a last result fight or flight death thing. And the truth is any big dog would do that. Yeah. And I would argue that many big dogs would actually jump to that conclusion and attack you way faster than a pitty would. Like if they're raised equally.
And they're I don't know, man. I'm a big fan, and
I've known a lot of pit bulls growing up. They get a bad rap for no reason.
We saw him at the Humane Society, and he was like just super scared and stuff. And like you could tell that, and like they had a hard time getting him out of his kennel. They were telling us that like, hey man, you know, like just be aware that like he's like snapped at us sometimes. He's a little food aggressive. Like we don't really know his history, because like the woman who dropped him off like just like dipped out, like she was like in a hurry or something, and just like let him loose. And they were saying like, oh man, you know, he's And I'm like, man, he's in prison. What do you expect? Like we got him in the car, like literally like in a minute, he was just sitting there.
Tail shaking?
Nope, just a perfectly well behaved, just sat there the whole ride home, just looking around, not shaking, scared or anything. As soon as he was in the car, just a complete change of personality and listened so well. Like I think he was abused by a male in the relationship. Like they said a woman had dropped him off and he listened to my lady way more than me.
No, you can always tell. You can always tell when you pick up an abused dog if it was a male or a female that abused them, because they will act really weird around the
it took him a day. Like he wasn't like aggressive toward me, but definitely skittish and stuff. And like if I was trying to get him off of the bed of my intern one night and he freaked out, like, rah, get the fuck back. I'm like, whoa, okay, cool. Like that, yep, I overstepped a boundary. Like
did he immediately cower though? Like did he cower after that? Like, oh shit.
He lunged at me and then backed up. Yeah.
It was an instinct because he was just scared. Yeah.
And so I was like, hey, that's cool. Like my bad. Like I overstepped a boundary.
And by the way, that behavior can be completely trained out. It just takes time. That's it. Like you can,
for sure.
No matter how bad the dog is, if you work with them and you spend time, you will train them out. It's just earning their trust. That's it.
Yeah.
My mom used to take in dogs as a kid that were like really bad dogs that bit people, dogs that like were ferocious. And they would act all tough and shit. And she would just work with them, spend time, sit there for hours, quiet, giving them treats and stuff, and just earning them over. And sometimes it'd take you a week or two, but they would come around. They would always come around. And then they'd be a completely different dog. And so, because we used to foster dogs growing up too. We fostered dogs. We fostered some cats. Cats are a little different though. Like cats just kind of have a personality and they just roll with it. Like they don't, like you can train them a little bit. Like my mom could train cats to like, know their name and come and understand certain words and stuff like that. But for the most part, they just kind of do what they want. Dogs, on the other hand, are people pleasers.
Well, that's kind of an interesting evolutionary thing. There's a lot of talk that cats like domesticated themselves. Like humans didn't really intervene in the domestication of cats. They sort of did it to themselves. And so that the relationship with humans is different from dogs, where humans deliberately have altered the DNA of dogs. Like they've done like chemical analyses in their brains. Dogs will prefer, like they see humans in a more positive light than they see other dogs. Even like they say dogs are man's best friend and it is a serious way. Like they do to a point. Like we've manipulated dogs to a point where like wolves and stuff don't have the muscles in their face to like adjust their eyebrows. We've bred dogs to be expressive in their face because we want to see a reflection of ourselves in our dogs. And that's over the last 10,000, 15,000 years we've done that. Like it's a trip. Dogs are more attached to humans than other dogs in that pack sense and stuff like that. It's like, oh man, it's so cool. And I'm really glad. Yeah. So my lady was saying that like, like I said, they got to meet and talk with the adopter, and Archie's going to have a really great life. And I'm really happy to hear that. And because he was such a sweet dog, and I feel like the people at the Humane Society, and not to fault them in any way, it is a very difficult job to house all these different animals and to try and
that's
get
not
them
a job you do for money.
Yeah,
you don't do that job for money. You do that job for passion.
So they didn't purposefully like give us bad information about Archie or anything. They gave us what they knew, and to what am I trying to say? In his defense, like it's scary to be in that kind of a place. And he was there for like 2 months at least. And it's scary. It's, and so like, of course he's going to be a little snappy and maybe have some personality problems when he's in prison, and he was such a lovable, big lump, anybody who's had pit bulls, like, what I'm talking about. They're just a big dense lump of goofball, you know. And I'm just really happy that
they're very playful too.
Oh man,
and they're really good with children too. Like if you raise them from a pup, they're amazing with children.
Dude,
amazing.
It was so cool. Years ago, what it would have been, sister-in-law had just recently had a baby. You know, it was like around a year, still like in a small car seat cradle kind of thing, and we were looking after her for a bit, and like so we put the car seat thing down on the ground, and Daisy come up and just like, oh, what's this? And like sniff, 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 and big slobbery lick on the face, and was just like, oh, okay, we got this tiny human we got to look after, and was just so cool. And
my biggest fear.
I didn't to have a big distraction, or I'm just happy that Archie's going to go to a good family.
Oh, that's rad, dude! I'd feel the same way. Hell yeah.
Have a
because the worst case scenario is when they can't find a home. And then they're forced to destroy them because people are afraid of them, and it's like, God damn it! It makes me so sad.
If he had just had to sit at the Humane Society kennel, he probably wouldn't have been adopted, or just very unlikely, because he was so scared and so reactive, and just in a bad way because of the environment. And so it was really cool that we got to give him a place where he could just really be himself and show that, you know, what a good dog he was. And so I'm really happy about that.
That's so cool, man.
A little emotional. So that's all.
That's so cool. Hey, on a different note, click on the link I just put in chat.
Oh geez.
So this one's pretty wild. Like this is one that from a text prompt.
Oh, hey,
isn't that crazy?
Weird.
Isn't that crazy,
what
man?
the heck? That's funny.
I mean, for something that I just typed in, right? So
hey.
Let's see here. Full body, and I'm gonna do professional, casual, unprofessional. I'm doing another round where I'm changing the options that it gives me. Like it basically put a bunch of drop down boxes in my prompt, and I'm changing the variables it extracted to create another set of images. And they look, wow, they look exactly the same. How did that happen? Whoa, that's bizarre. So I told it to create another set of photos, and they look absolutely like almost 100% the same. After changing a bunch of variables. Here, let me try again. But isn't that crazy that it came up with that from a text prompt?
Yeah,
like
this is good.
And here's the thing. This is what I typed. I did the double bag method again, where all I said was create a professional podcast studio. Or wait, no, is that the one that it created? Yeah, that's the one it created. All I said is generate a detailed. Okay, oh, here we go. Improve prompt. I asked Claude to improve on this prompt. I said create a picture. Create a thumbnail picture for a podcast called Tech Talk where a fat guy with dark brown short hair and a t-shirt and sweatpants, and the other person on the other side of the table with another mic looking like a lumberjack with dark hair and beard with gray in it, and a huge sign at the back wall that says Tech Talk. That's all I had. It doesn't even make sense. Like I didn't even use proper grammar. I copied that and I said, make this. I just said, let's see here. Improve prompt. That's all I said. Improve prompt. Dumped it in there. This is what it spits out. Create a professional podcast studio scene with two distinct hosts seated at a modern podcasting table. On the left, portray a plus-sized male host with well-groomed dark hair and a casual black t-shirt and comfortable gray sweatpants, positioned naturally behind a professional broadcast microphone on a boom arm. On the right, capture a rugged lumberjack-style co-host with thick dark hair and a full beard showing distinguishing gray streaks. Wearing a red and black plaid flannel shirt, seated at his own professional microphone setup behind them, dominating the wall, place a large modern-style backlit sign reading Tech Talk in bold, tech-inspired font similar to the Industry or Orbitron, with crisp white LED lighting against the dark charcoal studio wall. Includes subtle RGB accent lighting around the edges of the sign. The sign should be well lit with professional studio lighting, casting natural shadows and highlights to both hosts' faces. The table should feature audio equipment, including mixing board and monitor screens showing audio waveforms. Ensure the composition maintains podcast thumbnail proportions with both hosts clearly visible from mid-torso up, and the overall atmosphere should blend professional tech aesthetics with casual, approachable personalities. And then it gives me a list of the enhancements it made. Exact positioning and composition, which I didn't put in my original prompt. Detailed character descriptions, professional equipment detailing, lighting and atmosphere, studio environment elements, technical specifications for the sign, color scheme and contrast, important background elements, and proper framing for thumbnail format. So I create a prompt, a basic prompt. I let it create a more descriptive prompt, and then I take that descriptive prompt from one AI and feed it into another AI and get a much better result.
Yep.
So I think that's pretty damn cool that you can just stack AIs on top of each other like agents, right? Even different AI, like these aren't even AIs that are in the same generation, right? One is a generative AI created by Google, and the other one is who created Claude? Is Claude
Isn't that Google?
Anthropic?
No, Anthropic.
Yeah, I thought so. So yeah. So you take and you mix these two together and you just get like a really cool result. Right? Although, why is it okay? I did get it stuck on something where it creates the same image over and over again.
Just as a callback to, because I recognize the word "hote." Yep. The other word in there is horology.
Yeah, what the hell does that mean?
It's the study of watches and clock machinery. It's so weird because
so it's not the study of whores.
No, the double consonant makes it really hard for my tongue to work around it. But horology is like the study of clockwork and watches and things like that. So like if crazy. Somebody who like fixes watches and clocks and stuff or is a horologist. So weird.
I know it does not roll off the tongue at all.
Because the R followed by the L without a vowel inside of it. It's really hard for me, at least, to horology.
Dude, I'm starting to think Google trained on these two guys' faces because every permutation of this that I run creates the exact same two people. So that's weird. Like even with the prompt completely changed, like completely different text, brand new seed. It changes the equipment on the table.
Is this Gilosh?
It just doesn't change the
people. That's a fun word.
Oh, I got a question for you. Somebody finally posted a question. I wish it was more than one person. It was
you guys suck.
We're in streaming mode. Let me disable stream mode so I can see that. Lost in Space Things. I know the answer to this one, so I think you're going to nail it right off the bat. It's okay. What was the original name of the company that later became Google?
Oh.
There's no way you don't know this. If you don't know this and you know what a fucking horologist is or whatever. Oh, hold on. He's being summoned. Bro.
I don't think I do know.
So let me read it again. What was the original name of the company that later became Google?
Nothing's popping up.
Actually, wait a second. I don't think I know this. I think I read it wrong the first time.
I don't know.
Fuck, because you're saying what was the company name before it became Google. You're not saying who owns Google, who the parent.
Yeah,
I read it as the parent
now
company.
The parent company of Google, Alphabet, because they were forced to like break it apart because they needed to separate the search from the Chrome and the other stuff. Hang on.
That's interesting. So that wait, was it called Backrub?
I think that's what they want. That's what they were calling the search engine before they called it Google.
It was called Backrub.
I didn't know that was the company name. I guess it's about the same.
Wait, are they confirming it though? Is it confirmed Backrub? Is that the name?
And it's funny you say that. I would have never pulled that out of my brain. But yeah, I recognize that as like the original. That's the original name that they wanted to call the search engine.
Hey, Aux, you can hear me, right?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay, I was just making sure. I couldn't tell. Your responses to me didn't seem right for some reason.
Sorry.
Were you responding? Yeah. Were you responding to me or somebody else when I was asking?
A little of both. Somebody in chat said Backrub, and then that triggered the thought that was what they called the search engine before they changed it to Google. I didn't know if that. Okay. But that would have never come out. I would have never pulled that out of my brain.
No, to be fair, I didn't know that either. My answer was Alphabet because I thought you were asking who the owner of the company is. But no, you're right. Google wasn't originally owned by Alphabet. It was formed as an individual company before it was purchased. So I had no idea what it was called when it first came out, honestly. So this is the first. That's a good question, Lost in Space Things. When I first read that, I was like, that's a really easy one. But no, you're absolutely right. That's a hard question.
And yeah, having said Backrub, that then triggers the flood of
I got a question.
They called it before.
I got a question along these same lines to keep things balanced for all the haters. Because if we're talking about Google, we also got to talk about Microsoft. So I got a Microsoft trivia question. What was
I don't know much
what was Bing called before it was Bing?
I have no idea. Probably.
Chat, jump in here. I want to see if chat knows.
Yeah, I don't know.
It was actually a really bad name, and I'm glad they changed it because it was absolutely terrible. It was really bad.
Like Deep Throat or something.
Pretty close.
Goofy.
Pretty close.
Yeah.
Let's see if anybody in chat got it. Let's see here. Let's see here. Google was finally established on September 4th, 1998. The renaming of the search engine from Backrub to Google was decided. That was smart, actually. Backrub is kind of a dumb name for a search engine. Yeah. Let's see here. Bang, MSN Search, Google Wannabe. No, it's called Kumho.
Kumo.
Kumo.
Like, as like an internal code name kind of thing?
No, it was literally going to ship with Kumo, and they were forced to actually change the name.
Wow.
Yeah, it was literally like Kumho. I think it was like Kumho. Wow. And then they found out another company had that name. Let's see here. Let me see if I can find any public information on
Hotbot. That sounds familiar.
What was the name of Bing before it was Bing?
Why does Hotbot sound familiar?
It was,
that's interesting.
Let's see here. Bing. Trying to figure out if that was ever a public, like if anybody in the public knew that they were going to call it fucking Kumho. Because that's how we pronounced it internally. Like, we literally called it Kumho because we thought it was such a joke. We're like, who the hell would call their search engine Kumho? I was like, this is so stupid. And then they were forced to change the name. And then there was another project they had that they were also forced to change the name of. I'm trying to remember what it was. Because like a shopping center or like a grocery store outlet or something had the same name. It wasn't a search engine. It was another product that Microsoft had. Fuck, I can't remember. Let's see here. What was Bing?
It's like Kumon. Both the name and logo are so bad and don't make me think education.
Yeah, it was Kumo. Kumo was how it was spelled.
Kumo. Ah, interesting.
So, and by the way, the information I did find on Wikipedia does say that it was an internal code name, but they did actually plan to ship it as Kumo.
Wow.
And then I remember there was a legal issue because I think there's a company called like Kumo Tires or Kumo something, and there was some pushback on it. And plus they said, so then they decided to call it Bing. And we thought Bing was equally stupid too, but it actually works.
I like the idea of Bing because it's like you hit the enter and Bing, you get an answer. Like, I like that. It's got a cool sort of like mental image and sort of user experience feel to it.
Yeah, we just thought it was funny because it's like you can pronounce it like Kumo. It's like Kumho. Kumho. It just sounds dirty, man. It's like, who didn't get that when they were like coming up with this? I'm trying to open up an article on the Wayback Machine right here. So yeah, March 2009, first screenshots of Microsoft's Kumo emerges.
Wow.
So it says, we've known a while that there's live search has been rebranded and received a major update to the search engine. CNET has gotten the first screenshots of Kumo. And it says codename for the internal search test experience. And an email was sent to the search executive, Satya Nadella. Oh shit, Satya Nadella was in charge of search back then? I didn't know that. Check out the Kumo website and provide feedback and testing purposes.
Yeah, it was one that like ruined Google search. Or no?
What's that?
No, never mind. It just that was a weird tangent. Never mind.
So by the way, it was actually publicly facing as Kumo.com.
Wow.
So yeah, it says we're launching our new test program called Kumo.com for employees to try and provide feedback. And then it says Kumo.com exists only inside the corporate network. In order to get enough feedback, we will be redirecting internal live.com traffic over the test site in the coming days. So if you went to whatever the publicly facing site was, it would redirect you to the Kumo site.
Okay.
Let's see here. And then it says to get started, simply visit Kumo.com or click one of the samples below. As an employee, you are some of the most informed users and toughest critics. Okay, so I found a leaked internal mail that CNET posted where they're basically telling people to go to Kumo.com, but I think they were only resolving it internally. Because I do remember going to Kumo.com. We used to make fun of it all the time when I worked at Microsoft. I was like, this is the dumbest thing ever. And then we hated it because it was such an inferior search engine to Google in every possible way. And now I use it more than Google. I rarely touch Google anymore for search engine. I think Google became a shitty search engine.
Dude, on purpose. Yeah. I wanted to dig into that a little bit at some point. There was one person in particular, and like they deliberately ruined Google search in order to keep you on. It's either to pump the sponsored like links at the top, but also to like keep you on the website.
That's
so
weird.
you wouldn't find your answer quickly. And this was just in like the last few years, like five or 10 years or so. Yeah.
Interesting. DJ Alex Parker said, "Hey Barnacules, are you still a dev? Once a dev, always a dev, brother. Once a dev, always a dev." I will admit though that I am nowhere near the capability I once was. I used to be a very confident God level developer, and now I'm a very heavily AI assisted developer. So AI, sadly, like the GPS, has made me lazy. So now I don't have to remember the directions to all the stores. So I've become somewhat dependent on it. However, I can tell you right now, I can code faster than I ever have in my entire life. Like, doesn't matter what it is. Any idea I come up with in my head, I can usually have something functioning and working within like, a couple of hours or a day, which is for somebody who has ADHD, that's like the coolest thing ever. I will admit though that that the traditional developer days are numbered. Like you're in the future, you're not going to see C developers and Java developers and Cobalt developers. You're just going to see developers in the sense of architects. So architects are people that basically sit down and like plan out products with pseudo language, like imagery and text that's human readable, right? Think of like the comments and code versus the code itself. Now we're heading into a direction where it's like AIs are really good at interpreting human language, and they become better and better at interpreting human language regardless of what the language is, and then transcribing that into a result. So if you can describe, even today with today's AIs, even Claude is really good at it. If you can describe what you want the software to do, even without any technical knowledge of the computer and how it works, right? If you can describe what you want and go back and forth with AI, even a non-developer can get something that does what they want. To an extent. Like, obviously, if you're like, I want an Unreal game that has this and blah, 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 and 5,000 levels and Skyrim and all the characters can talk to me in real life. Obviously, that's not where AI is at. But AI one day will be there. Like, it will be able to produce that at some point in the not too distant future. But today, it's like, if you want to do something, if you want to make something that goes and gets something off a website and emails it to you or texts it to your phone, or you want a little ESP32 to take the temperature of your room and control your air conditioner. You don't have to go read like the white book standard or the orange book standard on protocols and scripting and TCP/IP and IP headers and using WinSock. You don't need to do any of that shit anymore. You can just literally run it through the intermediate layer that AI is in both directions. So from English to code and then code back to English. And through that communication layer, you can code just in English. It's like English is now a programming language. Like legitimately, sure. It's like they've finally figured out how to take an actual language like English and make it a structured programming language, which is wild to me. Yeah. And I think that's going to enable a lot of people to be able to do a lot of really cool shit in the future, and it's going to supercharge the capabilities of existing developers. Yeah. However, the downside is the developers that dedicated their lives to learning the really low level stuff and the really complicated stuff, they're going to be in less and less demand. Because the foundational code that they would normally use and improve upon can now have the same thing done. Like if the other person has the theory, but they just don't have the programming knowledge, they still have a conduit to get that out and make it work and create a prototype and test it. Whereas before you had to get a developer. Like you had the idea, but you had to get a developer that would translate it to the computer. Now humans can talk directly to computers. Yeah. And that's where AI is like really, really cool and where it shines. It's not perfect. It'll never be perfect. But then again, there's no programming language that's perfect either. Programming languages are full of bugs. Programming languages, unless you're programming direct assembly, you are quite literally using libraries of functions that were programmed by other fallible people. So anybody that tells you that, AI will never give you the result of a human, it's like you could be the best developer on earth and use all the right AIs with all the proper timing and all the proper locks and still run into a half dozen bugs that are no fault of your own, but you still have to work around because there's no way for them to fix those bugs because it caused regressions and everybody else's workarounds. Yeah. That's the weird thing about programming, man. Sometimes you can't fix a bug even if it's there. Like you can see the bug, it's right there in front of your face, and you're like, if I fix that, then every other person in the future that uses this API is not going to have to deal with this horrible issue. But then you also have to say, if I fix this, I now break every other person out there, the millions of people that have worked around this issue already. Because their workaround now is no longer valid and is going to break their code. So it's like, do I break every existing piece of code? So the way they work around this in most languages, they basically just create a new API, put an extra underscore on the front of it, maybe add a couple letters to the end of it, and then they just call it a different version of it, and then they slowly deprecate the old API, right, as they create new versions of the libraries. But it can get messy sometimes. I remember back when I was programming in C++, and sometimes there'd be a function with like 12 or 15 iterations. Underscore T, underscore this, GS or ZX, just putting different letter combinations on the end of it and shit, because they couldn't use the same name, because if you were using a different version of the library or whatever, then you'd hit the bug, right? So what they do is they'd use a name that would ensure if you had the old version of the library and it couldn't load it because the function name wouldn't line up. The symbol wouldn't line up. So, and that's what I like about managed languages. Managed language handle that beautifully, because a managed language allows you to pick and choose what versions of things you want to use specifically, even when the newer version is on the box.
Sure.
Like for instance, in .NET, right? You can have like 20 overloads of a function. And if you use an overload that just happens to have a certain set of variables that are different than the previous overload, like both functions have the same name, but basically different input types or different input number, it'll go, oh, I'll go back and grab the latest version of that and try it. And then if that breaks and it doesn't work, you can say, I want to force you back to the previous version, or I want to force you to a very specific version. And then you run that specific version of that function in that library, but everything else can still be running the latest up-to-date shit. So, and it's just, and the other thing I like about managed code or runtime compiled code is also, you know what it's called, is that you benefit from new hardware optimization. Like, for instance, if I write a program that does math really fast, right?
Yeah.
What happens tomorrow if they come out with a special set of instructions and APIs that make math really, really fast? Well, now I'd have to go reprogram my program to take advantage of that. And then I'd have to do a check to see if you have that functionality or you don't have that functionality. And there's all this extra shit I'd have to jump through at a low level to make that work on everything. But with managed code, I just say, I just want to do the math. And then the underlying libraries and the versions of the frameworks that are being compiled into say, wait a second, this guy has the latest CPU. These are the latest optimizations. They're already applied in the latest version of the function. And just by default, you get it unless it explicitly says not to use the latest version. And that I like. That I think is cool. Because like you can actually get huge performance improvements, especially in CUDA projects. If you're ever doing anything in CUDA, like on an NVIDIA card for like AI or neural networks, or you're using any of the like Python libs, like a new Python library version will come out and you'll just do a pip upgrade. You get the new version of the dependency. As long as you're not loading a very specific version of the dependency in your script, it'll always load the latest one that's available. And then all of a sudden you're like, wait a second, I'm getting 10 times the performance. How? And it's because the latest version now supports the graphics card. So the library can detect the graphics card and use the graphics card to accelerate the features. Whereas when you originally wrote the program, it could only use the CPU. And that's cool. I like that. But if you wrote the program in like C++ or assembly, you would be restricted to the processor and architecture that you compiled for. So like it's compiled specifically for that chip and that architecture only. Like you can't even like with managed code, you can even jump between x86, x64, between x64 and ARM, or from ARM to Raspberry Pi variant of ARM, RISC architectures to run on TVs and phones. As long as you're using a standardized set of APIs that are available across all the platforms, you can move that same block of code anywhere and it'll compile and run properly. I think that's cool as shit.
Pretty cool.
I love cross-platform. So
I gotta use the bathroom.
Oh, go for it. So cross-platform software development combined with AI is becoming super powerful. The thing I don't like about it, though, is that it's making it way too easy for people to write nefarious code, like non-software developers or scammers, to become much more effective. Because now as a scammer, you can just download like here, what's it called? Let me see. LM Studio is what I use locally for running. There's a bunch of local AI hosts that you can run, but I like LM Studio because it can mimic OpenAI's API. So like any scripts and stuff that you find on GitHub, you can actually have them think it's talking to OpenAI when it's actually talking to whatever one you want to load. Trying to find the name of the model that I use for coding. Qwen. So QWEN 2.5 coder 32B instruct. That's it's about a 13 or 14 gigabyte LLM. I can load it completely into memory on my RTX 4090. And running locally, I can have that thing write any code and it can't refuse me anything. It's a completely uncensored model that I can ask for anything. I literally say, write me a virus that just destroys my computer and it'll do it. That gets a little bit, that gets a little bit scary because now you have scammers out there and shit that are like, oh, I want to run something on somebody's computer that gives me a backdoor, or I want to get somebody to run like some nefarious code. Not only can AI tell you like the best methods to trick them into running your code, but it can also write the code that does the thing that you want, that gathers the thing you want. I even asked it to write a piece of code just for shits and giggles. I was like, hey, write a Python script that copies all searches for every possible cookie on the machine from every known web browser. And I specifically told under Windows 11 just because I wanted to limit it to browsers that ran under Windows 11. I said, look for all of those cookies, and I want you to go through all of those cookies and extract the session token and put that in a text file. And it wrote me a block of code. I copy and pasted it in a notepad. I run that sumbitch. Boom. Screen output, all the session IDs. I put that in a text file. I open up the text file. I'm like, yep, there they are. I add all of them. So all I would have to do to that program is add one line to upload that to a public share. Just create a public Samba share under my own IP address on my own computer, or I could even do it on like a cloud drive, like Google Drive, or they all have APIs for uploading to them, right? And you can just nest the username and password into the code. I could just do that and distribute that. And all it takes is one person running that on their computer, and I have every single session token from their browser, which means I can actually log anything they're logged into. I am also now logged into. Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. So the fact that somebody with no coding experience, with only a very basic understanding of like what a session ID is, and you wouldn't even have to know what the session ID is. You could literally go to the UI and say like, what is what information do I need to copy from somebody's computer to be able to be logged in as them on my computer? And it'll tell you the session token and probably give you a couple of other ones. So sadly, AI is opening up a realm for scammers to become much more effective and nefarious actors to become much more effective, because normally you'd have to have a certain level of skill to use these things or to do these things. And that certain level of skill would come with education, which would give you value. And because you have value from that education, most people wouldn't feel they need to do those nefarious things. So it would minimize the threat actor community in that space, right? But the fact that now you can have like the dumbest motherfucker on earth that has no ethics and no morals and just wants to steal people's money, and now they have the ability to do things that would normally require them to recruit somebody that has no morals, that's willing to program those things with that knowledge. Now they can just skip that and do it themselves. That opens up a whole like big can of worms, sadly. Sam Personal said, Barnacules, have you ever gotten XTTS working? I can't get it to do a UK voice. It just turns me American. Yeah, no, I used XTTS for a long time. I haven't used it recently. I haven't like updated and used it recently, but no, I have it on my computer. It's configured like under code. Let's see, XTTS. Let's see here, XTTS. Oh, I don't have it installed anymore. Interesting.
Because it sucks.
Oh, I think it's on my old computer. I haven't used it since Hobbs built the new computer, so it's still on my old hard drive, my old computer. But no, XTTS, it worked great. All you had to do was feed it any WAV file that had the voice of somebody else, and it would, well, that's the thing. You're saying it gives you an American accent, right? There's a way to change that. Because I was able to get it to do a British accent, like no problem. Let's see here. Site packages, polib, TTS, PyCache models. No, that's not what I'm looking for. I might have to, I might have to install that again later and play with it, because it's been a while. And I actually wanted to do a thing for the Twitch stream. I've been away from the Twitch stream way too long. I got to get back. It's been rough. But I want to clone my own voice. And I want my bot on Twitch that reads people's messages and stuff to be in my own voice. Yeah. I want it to be my voice, dude. I think it'd be awesome.
Yeah, $5 or more or something, and it'll read your message. That'll be fun.
Just have it be like, yeah, like if I go take a piss or whatever, my voice is like reading shit. It's coming in. That'd be pretty cool. Let's see here. Mo World said, it'd be great if I had a Bluetooth speaker and listen to Tech Talk in the shower. Dude, I will tell you what, shower speakers or shower radios will change your life.
Oh, dude, it's awesome.
I bought a shower radio that was like on Black Friday sale like 15 years ago or something like that. And it was like one of those weird like Newegg Black Friday deals. And I want to say it was like a $40 radio that I paid $10 for shipped. And it's one of those ones that you just suction cup onto your wall.
Yeah.
And I've changed the batteries in that thing maybe 4 times in 15 years. And every time I take a shower, I crank that thing on, listen to local radio, get the local news, hear some music. Cool. I love it. I think it's awesome. And my wife, she has one of those little Bose Bluetooth speakers that sounds really nice. And we take that out to the hot tub. When we're in the hot tub, we can put tunes on there. Or if I take the little micro Pico projector, we haven't done that in a long time. I really should do that. Because my son has a window. My son's bedroom window is right over where the hot tub is outside. So what I was thinking about doing is getting some white butcher paper and putting it on the inside of the glass, and then having the projector on a tripod on the other side of the hot tub, because it's a battery powered little projector, and then we have the battery powered little speaker, and we can sync them together. I was like, it'd be cool to be out there watching like YouTube and shit, or watching a movie, just like chilling in the hot tub, and have it like displaying on the window, because I think the glass with the paper behind it would actually reflect the light really good, make it bright. Are you using YouTube's AI responses feature to video comments? Wait a second, they let you use that? What? Please tell me that's not a real thing. Oh my God, hold on, let me go check. I got to see if that's a thing. That's gonna be bad. So wait, you create like a little bot and it responds to comments on your behalf? So now all the people that are watching your videos that think they're talking to you, they're now just talking to AIs. I hope it says that it's an AI response and it's clear on it, because if it's misleading people into thinking because that's dishonest as fuck. Like, because if people get a response from a creator and they really think it's come from the creator, they're going to watch more of their content and interact with them more. Yeah. And then they're going to build this weird parasocial relationship with a fucking bot, and think the bot knows who they are. And then at some point they're going to approach that person and be like, oh, we talk all the time in comments. I'm so-and-so. And you're going to be like, well, I don't read comments. And because they have no fucking idea they're being responded to. I hope that that's not a real thing. I'm looking right now. So there's community. Let's see here. Like, what can I do here? So I can add user, report, hide, remove, pin. I don't see anything. What if I click reply? Is there an AI reply? No, I don't see AI reply. This is fucked up. Tech Syndicate made a video on it. It's a YouTube feature. Oh, I gotta figure this. This is weird. So okay, so content. Where do you enable it though? Like, do you enable it like per video? Here, that's where I think it would be. Here, let me go under videos. Let me just click a random video here. Edit. Okay, so details. Let me scroll through the details page. End page credit, subtitles, cards, thumbnails. Let me scroll down to where they do the comments. Okay, comments are on. Basic content moderation, sort by top, science and technology, automated embedding. I'm not seeing anything that's like automatic responses. Allow automatic concepts. What does that mean? Help viewers learn more about unfamiliar terms without leaving the video. Concepts mentioned in your video may automatically appear in the description. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, allow automatic places. Allow automatic chapters. Okay, I'm not seeing anything here. And there's clips, editor, analytics, comments. Oh, here, let me click on the comments tab and see if there's anything here. I mean, there's AI. Oh, are these the AI responses where you have to click on them?
Oh, maybe.
If you have to click on them, then that's fine. Like because you have to read it before clicking on it, right? So like if I go into comments, it does create AI generated responses, but I have to pick the one and approve it, right? So like for instance, I opened up a random video comment from 4 days ago. He said, some guy, he said, hey, Jerry, I suddenly thought about your videos, which I always used to watch back in the 3D printer days when they were getting popular. I was looking for your channel for over half an hour, scrolling through all the channels I subbed to because I couldn't remember your name, and I'm glad that I found it again. It's great to see that you're still uploading. I hope he means Tech Talk. I wish you all the best and hope that you are fine. So I'm going to like his comment, but underneath it has 3 prefabbed responses. Cool, thanks, cool idea, and welcome back. So like AI generated it, right? So if I click welcome back, it opens a reply box with welcome back already written, and I can hit reply. So I'll just add to it. It's great to have you back. So if I go down to the next one, right? It's like, oh, when I did have HVAC problems run into capacitor problems, I discharged them by using a screwdriver. So the 2 AI automated responses are, I agree, the run capacitors are cheap, but I didn't have any on hand. And the other answer is, it's true, the parts are cheap compared to the labor involved. So I can click on either response, and I can click reply, and then that automatically replies, and I didn't have to type anything. So that must be what he's talking about. Okay, so it's not like it's suggested AI responses. It's not actual AI responses, because I would have a huge problem with that. I would be just yelling at YouTube like a motherfucker right now on social media if they released a feature where a bot was replying to comments as you on your videos. Because don't get me wrong, that would massively increase engagement, because people are 10 times more likely to watch a video from somebody who engages with them like one-on-one, right? Yeah. So that would massively improve engagement, but that would also create a very dangerous scenario for the creator down the road if all these people met them in public or met them at an event or came to their house because the bot was being really overly nice to them and inviting to them and not seeing, problems as they're popping up. That could be an issue. Let's see here. It's so funny. Somebody replied with like a trolling Trump comment and talking about TDS, and it gave me no AI automated responses. It's like it knows to just stay away from that.
Yeah, it knows that you have nothing to say.
It had no automated responses for "we missed you." Actually, wait a second. Scrolling down, there's like half of these don't have automated responses. That's weird. I wonder what dictates whether it gets an automated response or not. Because there's like somebody said, I'm back. No automated response. Another person, we missed you. No automated response, right? But then if you scroll down like 5 or 6 more, let me see if I can find one here. Okay, finally, after I had to scroll like 20 comments, LG ACs seem to be well made, as this one lasted very long. And the automated response is, glad to hear you've had good luck with your LG ACs, or I'm surprised those GE ACs are so common. So, I see the pattern. Never mind. It's because they're old videos. These are over a month ago. Oh, okay. So they must have just enabled this recently, because the automated comments are only showing up for comments on latest videos. On the old videos, they're not showing up. This is crazy. You see, I might use this just for the trolls, because it's funny, because it's like overly positive.
Yeah.
So like, let's hear, put low regarding the coffers, which grow not as they once did. Bear in mind, good Sir Jerry, that the sands of revenue shift with the winds in content and audiences' fickle fantasies. I like this guy. Methinks the algorithm and patrons he's like doing yield English, must need but a gentle reminder of thy wit marvels. Perchance, through new feats of engineering of rare wondrous creations described anew upon thy channel, thine perseverance and charm have brought thee thus far. Mayhaps they shall yet feel thine purse anew. And here's the automated responses. You know what? You might be right. I've been feeling a bit rusty lately. And the other one is, that's some high-class wordplay. I'm all about keeping it simple, but maybe it's time to dust off the old lab coat and crank out some new content. There we go. Okay, you know what? This is not a bad feature. Like, I don't know if Tech Syndicate was saying it was a bad feature or not, but I have to say now, after if that is the feature, if that is, I don't know if that's what he did the review on or not, but I have to say I'm not mad at that. That's actually kind of nice, because if you want to interact in comments and the response is close to what you would have already said and you're reading it anyway, so you're signing off on it, you're saying this is representative of me, then you are still technically responding. You are technically responding to the person, like, directly. Therefore, you can say, yes, I did respond to you. My problem would be with AI responding to everybody and everybody thinking they're getting this one-on-one relationship with creators, and they think it's the actual creator and they have no way of knowing it's a bot. And this also becomes a problem, by the way, with celebrities that have people managing their social media accounts. Because especially female celebrities, because what they'll do is they'll have a social media manager or a team of people that'll respond to literally hundreds of people per day, which is like not even possible for the celebrity to do. And they'll respond to them, and then they're like, oh my God, I got a response. And then they retweet, oh, Taylor Swift really talked to me. Oh my God, I'm going to cherish this forever. And they don't realize that it wasn't Taylor Swift. It was like a media management team hired, just replying as her under her official account. And so they have that, but then they go to a concert or whatever, and they get to buy a backstage ticket, spend thousands of dollars to go to a concert to get back. Oh no, I know her. She responded to me on Twitter. Like, yeah, no, we're friends. She knows exactly who I am, and she has no fucking clue who you are. So, and that can become a dangerous scenario when you have a lot of these weirdos, very predatory weirdos out there. That sadly, I have a female content creator friend right now that's dealing with one, and I'm helping her out. And it's sadly how common it's become. But yeah, there's just this weird tendency where you get like these super fucking creepy dudes that latch on to these women that they get attracted to, that make content, and then if they get any response from them or any attention or anything, they immediately think that means, oh, you want to marry me or you want to sleep with me. Yeah. And then if they stop responding for any reason, or they go on vacation without telling them where they're going, or they don't respond within 24 hours, all of a sudden they're like, oh, I see how it is. And then they see that as like you're breaking off some kind of serious relationship when all they were doing was being nice. They were just trying to be nice to you. So it's sad that happens so frequently, but it truly does. And I think a lot of that has to do with our current culture of just everybody, especially after COVID, right? Everybody all these teenagers that were growing up in this environment where they were basically cooped up and everything was online, and you didn't have a lot of face-to-face contact and a lot of face-to-face conversation. And it just made you like it made some of these people just like completely fucking numb to the needs of other people, and made them just like not even understand like the most basic of cues or reading a situation. But yeah, anyways, sucks. She had to get the police involved. I'm still waiting to hear back what she contacted them. She's going to let me know what they say back. But and to be fair, it's not just women either. Happens to dudes all the time. It's happened to me. Oh, yeah. I've had several people that got a little too close and they thought that they were going to have some kind of a sexual thing with me. And they thought that me responding to them and being kind to them, and and they took that as me forming some kind of relationship where they thought that I wanted to be with them, even though they knew I was married, they knew I was straight, they knew I had a kid. But in their mind, they're like, well, if he wasn't gay and he didn't desire me, he wouldn't be talking to me or playing a game with me or responding to my comments. They somehow take any interaction with them as that is a, spit in a handshake deal that we're now in a relationship. And sadly, I've had to get the cops involved on that. You remember, and then you had the case with the Terminator guy, right? Who's like during my live streams, like texting me and calling my house phone and telling my family that he's gonna rape and kill him in front of me and stuff like that, all because he was mad I didn't like Trump. Like, huge fan of the channel, been around for like 4 years, has tipped multiple times, like has never really been a huge problem. And then the second that I have an opinion on Trump, dude goes completely fucking batshit crazy and tries to kill my family. Cops got involved. They located him. He got in a lot of trouble. He was on the spectrum, though, so I cut him some slack. As long as he doesn't break the rules of that, I'm not going to press charges. And so far, I don't think he has. But it's just wild that shit happens. It's like, my God, man. It makes being a content creator legitimately scary. People think that it's easy, but it's not. Like, the attention is fun sometimes, like the good attention. But the bad attention is multiplied by 1,000 times. It's like, even if you have 1,000 good interactions, it's that one bad interaction that's so fucking persistent that they dump so much energy into with so much conviction. It ruins it.
It's kind of sad.
It does. Yeah. Did you ever have any problem with that? Did you ever have any obsessive people that crossed the line or any followers? I mean, you don't have to name any names, obviously. But
not that I can think of. No.
So Professor Beardosaur must not have ventured into the weird content enough to
maybe
get those people. Yeah. I still get people, though, honestly, and this I don't really care. Honestly, I don't really care about this. This is pretty harmless, but I'll get people that'll just randomly email me fan fiction that they write of like shit that they're doing with me, and as long as they don't involve my wife and kid or whatever, I genuinely don't really care. But it's just weird that they think I want to see that. Like in their heads, they're like, I really think he's going to love seeing this. Like, I bet he's going to get off just like I do reading this story that I made about this intense sexual contact. And I end up not reading it. I just open it and see what it is and then just, throw it away. But it's just interesting that there's people out there that they're that attracted to this. Like, I get that everybody has their thing, right? Like, my wife finds me attractive. I have no idea why, right? But she does. Like, she legitimately does. Yeah. Like, that is clear. Yeah. And so everybody has their thing, but it's just, to me, it's just like so hard for me to wrap my head around that. There's like, there's people out there that have like in a parasocial way, without me having any physical contact with them, knowing them in real life, ever talking to them or anything, just from hearing my voice and seeing me on a screen talking about unrelated shit, in their head have like actual fantasies about having a life with me. And I'm like, but at the same time, it's like, as long as fantasies are fine. It's only when you bring it out in the real world it becomes dangerous, right? It's like, I tell people, you can think whatever you want, you can do whatever you want in your own privacy. I don't give a shit. You can jerk it to me all you want. Hell, I find it as a compliment. The biggest compliment ever. But the second that you start bringing it out into the public and you start pushing that shit and you start making me uncomfortable, well, that's when we have a problem, right? Yeah. It's like, keep it to yourself. But yeah, I'm flattered if you flick your bean or choke your chicken. Told Barnacules, hey, I'm a little flattering. Yeah, I'm just saying it's flattering. Hey, you know what? I think it's great, and I'm glad that I can do that for you. But just keep it in your house. I don't need to hear about it. I hate to say it, Barnacules, but chubby chases are a thing. They absolutely are. I won't name any names, but early on when I was really big on YouTube, can you believe it? There was a time on YouTube where I was in the top 3% bucket of everybody on YouTube.
Damn.
Yeah, there was a period of about 2 years where I was in the top 3% bucket. I had a partner manager that was one-on-one with me. I mean, shit was going good. I was getting 12 million views a month back then, which even by today's standards, a lot.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, during the glory days, I picked up some pretty crazy stalkers. And one of them that comes to mind, they would keep sending me pictures of themselves in a bathtub, like with like candles and drinking wine and stuff. Like, oh, I'm thinking about you right now, in my bathtub, in my bubble bath right now. And I just wanted you to know. And I just kind of ignore it. I'd just be like, whatever, it's harmless. Until the person actually showed up in Washington State, texts me at a phone number that they shouldn't have. They doxed me, got my phone number and address. They texted me and said, hey, I'm going to be at your house in 20 minutes to surprise you. And I was like, who dis? Because I did no name, nothing. Just, hey, I'm going to surprise you 20 minutes. Who this? And they replied back with their handle, and I knew immediately who it was because it was somebody that I talked to. It's somebody, and this is somebody that I have played games with and stuff, like on live streams, like way in the past. So this isn't somebody who's like super stranger, but nobody that I've ever had like a lot of one-on-one contact with. And they're like, oh, I'm on the way to the house. And it's like, and I was like, I replied back to them and I said, listen, do not show up at my house. I said, if you show up at my house, I will shoot you. That's what I said. I made it very, very clear. And they replied back and they were like, what? And they did, the big crazy, like, what emoji? And then they tried to call me. I didn't answer the phone. I texted them back. I said, turn around. I said, you are never welcome to, I never gave you my address. I never gave you my phone number. You are not welcome to do this. You have crossed the line. And they replied back and they're like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I didn't think of it that way. I'm like, you literally bought a plane ticket, flew from Canada down to the United States, got in a taxi to drive you to my house. And he told me that he's like, yeah, I was just going to stay for a couple nights and crash on your couch. And we're going to just have like a great time. It's like, what the fuck, bro? I was like, no. So yeah, I basically had to tell them that if they showed up that I was going to shoot them. I called the cops and said, hey, listen, just heads up. There is a person en route to my house that I do consider a danger. But they did break it off. They did reply back and they said, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I didn't know I crossed the line like that. I'm just going to stay in a hotel in Seattle and then I'll head back, in 2 days. And then they tried to message me the next day and they're like, hey, I'm really sorry how that went down. I thought it all played out different in my head. I'm so sorry. Hey, can we still meet up and grab a coffee or something? And I was like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, this is not a line you come back from. You can't fucking do that. Like, you can't just dox people and fucking fly to their house. And because what he was doing was he was hoping that if he just showed up on my porch without asking, that I'd be like, oh, okay, you can stay here a couple nights. Like, yeah, right. He thought it would be one of those situations where if he didn't have anywhere to go and he didn't have anywhere to stay, and he was like, he spent all his money to get to my house, that I'd have to like take him in. And when it didn't go that way, immediately he was like, oh, fuck, But I was like, yeah, that was a crazy scenario. And then of course that changed the whole dynamic. Like, this is a person that I did have some interaction with online, but then I had to cease all interaction after that.
Yeah,
because it was too toxic. Like, I was like, dude, you can't do that. And I've had other people that have actually come to the house. Luckily, it didn't happen a lot, but when they come to the house, with one exception, I've opened the door and I told them to immediately leave and not to come back. Like didn't answer their questions, didn't do a selfie, nothing. I said, you need to leave right now. You are not welcome on this property. You are trespassing at this moment. Leave. And for the most part, they did. The only time I didn't do that was when some little kids showed up. Like, their mom literally brought them by, opened the side of the van, and like unleashed their kids on my porch. And in that case, like, I didn't want to hurt the kids, so instead I was nice to the kids. I gave them their little selfies or whatever, and then I went and talked to the mom and gave her a stern fucking talking to. And I was like, lady, what happens if you don't know me? What happens if I'm a fucking rapist and serial killer? I could have snatched your kids, drug inside of my house, and locked the door. You didn't even come up to the door with them. Like, what the fuck are you doing? She's like, oh, I never thought about it that way. It's like,
why? What? Oh my God.
I don't understand how people can just think celebrity online means trustworthy.
Yeah.
Those are not compatible.
Especially after all the weird, horrible stories of like just all kinds of different, whether it's like family vloggers or like just, I don't know, man. Or like all this stuff, like James Charles stuff and like some of the stuff that was going on like 8 years ago. Like, man, weird.
Dude, after the experiences I had, and keep in mind, I was a tech tuber at the time. Like, I did almost I did like 90% tech and then like 10% some other stuff.
Yeah.
But I mostly did technology. So as a tech tuber, that was happening. So imagine if you were like a vlogger or, something that more appealed to children or whatever. So I'm like, God damn, how many kids out there were just like, went to people's houses and just disappeared?
Yeah.
Like seriously, like, how many open cases out there where they're like looking for these kids and shit? They're like fucking in the basement of some content creator. Because a lot of these content creators, that they're just showing up at their house, they don't know if they have families, they don't know if they have wife and kids. Shouldn't matter though. Like, none of that should matter. Yeah. But I'm saying, if you're allowing your kids to just like roam around and travel to some like random dude's house, or even a woman, doesn't matter, man or guy, doesn't matter. Or sorry, woman or guy, doesn't matter. It's like, if you don't physically know who these people are in real life and you don't have some kind of a rapport with them, you have no fucking business having your children around them at all. Period. Like, and so I feel like in a lot of these cases, like James Charles, it's like, do you really think if this is happening to me, James Charles doesn't just have kids walking up to their house all the time? And like, do you really think they're going out and being like, hey, fuck you, get off my porch or whatever, creating a video that can make them look bad? No, they're more than like, hey, come on in, kids. You guys want something to drink? You want something to eat? Oh, hey, don't put them in the vlog. Keep the camera off. Hey, you guys want to see my really big bed in my bedroom? It's really cool. So let's all go watch a movie. Hee hee. I just, you can't fucking trust content creators. You can't. Okay, we're professional liars. We're actors. Don't fucking trust us.
Yeah.
Don't trust us with your kids. Don't trust us with your livelihood. Anything we say is just something we said. Don't fucking, bet your life on it or put your life in danger on it or take advice. Everything that is said by a content creator in some way is to their own benefit. So take it all with a grain of salt, Don't just fucking, my brain is so...
Yeah, it's just weird.
I just don't get how people can like build this parasocial trust. Like I get the parasocial relationship thing.
Yeah.
I really do understand that because I've even done it myself. Like before I was a content creator and everything, there was content creators I looked up to and I was like, oh man, if I met him, I'd fangirl really hard. Fuck, even when I was a content creator, I'd go to events and go in the green room and fangirl over some of the people I encountered, right? It's hard not to.
Yeah, for sure.
So I try to understand and I try to get it, but there's a big difference between going to an event where somebody wants to meet people and where they're there to meet people and the encounters are all consensual. That's cool. But the problem is when that parasocial relationship in your head crosses that line where you think that you have a relationship with that person that's better than like everybody else. Like somehow you're their biggest fan. That's the biggest thing I used to hear all the time. It's like, I'm really your biggest fan. Like, I'm not just saying that. Like, I am your biggest fan. It's like, what, you survey everybody else? You go survey the 800,000 other people that watch my videos that every time I've met them, they all say that they're my biggest fan. Like, what makes you my biggest fan? I mean, I didn't say that. Obviously, I'm not going to say that. But the whole idea of people in their mind somehow thinking that there's going to be a reciprocation on the other side when there's been nothing to build that relationship. That relationship's completely fabricated by one side and one view. And the other side's not even participating. You're basically filling in the dialogue for the other person. That doesn't work. VR Gimp said, guess it's a good thing that Jerry doesn't have the whistle in his voice like the Family Guy old man does. Oh, yeah. What's his, Herbert? Herbert. Get over here, Chris. Get over here, you fat shit. I used to be able to do a good impression of Herbert, actually. Like, call me.
Oh, man.
Oh, my God. Do you watch Family Guy?
No. Not so much anymore. I used to, yeah, back in the day. I don't have like regular.
Are
TV
we
stuff
seriously
anymore.
10 minutes from shutdown?
Yep.
Have we done a single fucking topic?
No, I don't think so. But so what? Like, that's part of TikTok. Like,
oh my God, dude. All right. Well, 15-minute speed round. Yeah. Worst thing that happened this week, scary California fires. I'm sure some people in chat are probably living down there freaking out about all this. It's super scary.
Yeah, man.
It reminds me of like the Chicago fires in the early 1900s. Like, I don't remember any big fire like this ever happening on this level, like in these populated famous areas.
Right.
Like literally looking
this close to like Hollywood Valley and stuff.
Dude,
like,
did you see the helicopter shot where it's like the middle of the city, like literally like Hollywood and Vine? It's like just fire. It's just everything's on fire. Like buildings right across the street from each other. Everything's on fire. So as far as I know, they still don't have it under control. Can anybody give me an update in chat? Like, have they stopped any of the 6 fires or are they still going?
I saw Newsom put out a post a couple of days back saying like one of them, hold on, Newsom, right? Newsom. What's his name? Fucking
Newsom. Gavin Newsom.
Gavin Newsom.
Okay, so the latest update I got is from 23 hours ago. Flames engulfed Southern California as crews battle to control these deadly fires. Here, let me look at how contained they are.
Yeah.
Okay, January 10th. What is today? The 11th? Okay, so Palisades fire. Okay, a bunch of them are contained. Okay, so...
Yeah, so like actually there's a live broadcast from KTLA 5 right now. Palisades fire, 21,317 acres, 8% contained.
Yeah, my latest update shows 11% for Palisades, 15% for Eaton, 80% for Kenneth in Ventura.
Yeah.
But there's a bunch that are contained. Like Hearst Fire is 76 contained, Archer Fire 100%, Tyler Fire 100%, Olivia's Fire 100%, Lydia's Fire 100%, Sunset Fire, the Sunset Boulevard Fire or whatever, that 100%. But still the big one is Pacific Palisades. So Palisades Fire is only 11% contained, and the Palisades is like a huge area where it very densely populated with celebrities. So, but for you guys that hadn't heard, I tweeted about it yesterday. Kyle lost his house, sadly. Yeah, I see some of you in chat are talking about that. So Kyle Hansen, aka Bitwit, on YouTube, friend of mine. If you guys don't know, we go way back to even like when Jay and I met. First time I ever flew down to meet Jay, it was to go do a gig with Newegg, where Newegg used to do a podcast back then. And Paul and Kyle, if you remember, were the two guys on the Newegg podcast. along with a few others. And so they invited Jay and I down to be a guest on their podcast, their Newegg podcast with their studio. And that's where I met him. So I met Kyle, and really cool guy. We hung out with him and everything. And then the last couple of times that I went down early on with Jay, we'd always meet up with him. Like, as a part of us always being down there, where we were doing something Newegg or not, we'd always go meet up and hang out with the guys, with Kyle and Paul. And so I knew Kyle pretty well, and it's super nice guy. And dude just went through hell over COVID, nasty divorce, lost a bunch of shit there, and then he rebuilds, gets his new house. He just got it renovated too, as far as I know, like within the last year or so.
Jeez.
And it burned down. Complete loss too. If you look at it, he did a video on it. If you go watch it on Bitway, complete loss.
Dude, even just the little clip that's on Twitter is like, dude, it's just like a wall. Like, there's just one wall standing, basically.
Yeah, the only thing they found was like a couple of keys and some documents that were protected in like a fire safe. Other than that, everything else was decimated to dust.
Damn, man.
And so, yeah, so that was super duper scary. And so he's probably going to be off for a while, because remember, he has a studio.
Dude, for a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, he does have a studio. Thank goodness. And the studio didn't burn down. But the problem is the studio is 1 mile away from where it burned down. So all the infrastructure is fucked up. So he's not going to have any power. He's not going to have any water to the studio. Man. And plus, the air quality is so bad, you have to wear an N95 mask just to breathe in the vicinity. So he can't work in the studio. So he said his videos are going to be, super changed for the following weeks or even months, because he can't use the studio. Even though he still has to pay for it, he still has the building. He can't use it.
Yeah.
And now he has to go back and live with his parents, who live way far from the studio. So he said it's not even practical to drive to the studio right now. So he's got to figure that out, how to get out of his lease, if it's even possible. Wait for insurance to pay out, which I'm sure is going to dick him around. So it's a terrible situation.
Yeah,
it's like a total loss. But thank goodness he's handling it well. His cats got out, so no loss of life. Him and his girlfriend are safe. Luckily, when it happened, he was at CES, and he drove there. So he had his car, his really nice RS3. He said if he didn't drive there, his car would have been parked in the garage and would have been gone, more than likely.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, and it's just so terrible. It's so terrible. Like, I can't even imagine. And I have other friends that have lost their houses to fire. Remember Gimpy? So
yeah.
Gimpy, he lost his whole house
a couple years ago. Jeez.
Yep, his house burned to the ground
2 years ago.
Yep,
I think.
A quadriplegic friend of mine. He's literally was had his whole house burned down. Lost all of the special equipment he needed to bathe and eat and all that stuff. And so it even burned his van down, like the van that had the transport for his chair.
Yeah.
Even burned that down. So he basically had to spend, I want to say, 6 or 8 months living in a hotel, in like a 1-bedroom like hotel room, where they had no equipment to move him or handle him. They had no vehicle to transport him, so they had to like call for a third-party service to be able to transport him in his chair. He almost died in the fire. It was only because his nephew was there and got him, pulled him out of the fire, that he didn't die. So yeah, it's sad that I know so many people that have had their house burned down. Didn't Austin Evans, didn't he lose his apartment to a fire too at some point?
Who now?
And Austin Evans, do you know Austin Evans?
Yeah, editor
YouTuber?
For Linus Tech. I think.
No. He has his own channel.
No, I recognize him. Yeah,
you'd know him if you saw him.
Glasses.
Yep, kind of nerdy, goofy looking motherfucker. Yeah. So no, Austin's awesome. I met Austin many times. He used to have a studio right next door to Jay's studio, down in California. So anytime I go to Jay's studio when I was down there, we'd always go over and hang out with Austin, and have coffee with him and shit, and shoot the shit with him and the crew. But yeah, Austin, I think he lost his apartment. Another guy I watch who does, another YouTuber I watch had his whole studio burned down, not his house, but his studio with all his equipment, all of his videos, and all of his long-term projects. I can't remember the name of the channel off the top of my head, but it's like Make Everything. I think it's called Make Everything. It's a guy who basically started at the beginning of like human civilization and then worked his way up through like all the different methods of creating tools and then using those tools to create the next generation of tools. And he does all the metallurgy and everything. So like every step he goes through, it's to like create the next generation of humanity. And it's been a big, huge project he's done for years and years and years. He lost everything in a fire. So it's just crazy how many people I know. And I just thought about this the other day when I saw what happened to Kyle. I broke down in tears, man. I lost it when I saw that. I was like, oh my God. I can't even imagine. I didn't even think for a second that he lived anywhere near where these fires were going on. Thankfully, Jay is nowhere near him. Like Jay is nowhere near where the fires are. Where Jay lives, there's no, it doesn't look like there's anything that could burn that would cause the fire to reach his house, to jump to his house. So I don't think where he lives there would be a fire problem unless it like started there in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
But thankfully he's safe. But yeah, it's mind blowing. It's just mind blowing how much you can lose in just a blink, right?
Yeah.
And because I think about it, it's like there's so many things in my house. Because I was thinking about this the other day. I was like, there's so many things in my house that can't be replaced.
Yeah.
Like a good probably 40% of everything that I own is something that cannot be replaced. Like it's something custom, one-off, or a memory, or photos, or storage, or and it just it started making me think more and more and more. It's like a fire could just destroy all that. So I really need to put some more effort. And I don't have the money for it right now, clearly, but I do need to put some more effort into getting some more fire extinguishers and stuff like that, just to give me the best possible chance of fighting a fire. Because where I live, there is a possibility of wildfires like actually reaching stuff. Like I do live in an area that's heavily wooded.
We had our home insurance dropped us because of the risk, right, of wildfires. I'm like, bro, that was like 4 years ago.
That's wild.
But all it takes, like Metroid RTX, all it takes is the right winds. So
apparently some houses survived. Like there was just houses that looked completely unscathed in the middle of like a war zone.
Yeah.
And you're like, how the hell did they do it? And I guess they had sprinklers on the roof that were tapped off of high powered pumps on a generator from their pool.
Yeah.
And
I've seen some of that.
So they'd like fire up the generator and the sprinklers, and then they'd leave. They'd evacuate. Yeah. And then they'd come back and their house would be like almost pristine sitting there with everything else around it burned. Like even my buddy Adam, he told me he has 2 friends that live in the area where the fires reached, and both their houses survived almost 100%. And he said it was because they had these sprinkler systems that they're on generator. So if you lose power to the area, you still have power for the pumps, and they pump the water out of these swimming pools, these big in-ground swimming pools. And so the swimming pool then becomes the water source for the sprinklers. The sprinklers soak the roof and soak the whole building, the walls, everything around it, all the trees. These big, huge, high-powered sprinklers, right, that can shoot like 100 feet. And you just have it use the pool to just soak everything around it. So when the fire rolls through, hopefully it doesn't catch enough stuff on fire that it overcomes, how wet everything is.
Yeah.
But even in that case, there's no guarantee, because even no matter how much water you put on it, if the fire is hot enough and there's enough fuel that radiant heat can reach, it'll blow all that moisture off as steam. It doesn't matter how wet it is, and it'll be flammable. Because I've seen these forest fires where it's like they get so intense and so hot that like even these big Douglas fir trees that are just soaked in water, completely saturated in water, and they still just like catch fire like a match. So it just depends on how hot the fire is. The other thing that sucked is I guess a bunch of people were just abandoning their cars in the middle of the road because they like drive down a road and they see fire and they just jump out and run away. Yep. And so it blocked all these roads with huge groups
with bulldozers. Yep. Yeah.
And then the cars catch fire and the fuel tanks explode or the lithium batteries blow up. And then that just adds a shitload of fuel. And basically where the road was like a fire break, now you don't have the fire break anymore because it catches the car on fire. That car catches the fire to the car next to it and the next to it, next to it. You're like, oh, how does the car catch fire? It's glass and metal. It's like, no, the radiant heat is so hot. It's like auto-igniting everything that can burn inside of it. Like it can
40% of the car is plastic. Yep. It's like, of course it's going to freaking catch on fire. Like,
yeah, you can literally catch shit on fire by just radiant heat. If you've ever watched like a forest fire, a flame doesn't have to jump. Like you'll see like a fire burning so hot that like shit across the trench will just ignite. Yeah. Like it'll just auto ignite because it's so hot. It just dries out the wood and dries out the leaves and shit. And then they just hit their ignition point. Because I want to say to light something on fire, it doesn't have to be that hot. Was it like 1,000 degrees or something like that? Like here, let me see. What is the
depends on the thing, right?
Ignition temperature of wood. So the flash point for wood is around 482 to 572 degrees Fahrenheit.
That's not that much.
So that means you could literally take a piece of wood, and actually I know this is true, and I can prove this, because your stove has an auto cleaning feature. Like if you have a gas stove or an electric, it has an auto cleaning feature. That auto cleaning feature,
500.
Yeah, it hits 500 degrees, right? And and when you open up that door, what do you see after it runs that cleaning cycle?
Char, just dust, basically.
Just dust. Yeah. Anything that's on anything in there. If you put a popsicle stick in there during the cleaning cycle, it just comes out as dust. So, hey, what's up, networking guy? It's good to see you, brother. I was wondering if you're going to pop in. So yeah, so all you need is when you have a fire burning at 800, 1,000, 1,200 degrees. Oh, and we know how hot the fire was. Did you notice when they were walking around videotaping, there was molten aluminum everywhere around the cars?
Oh, geez.
So aluminum melts, I think, at 1,200 degrees. What is...
That sounds right.
Aluminum's melting point. So, yeah, so 1,220 degrees Fahrenheit is aluminum's melting point. So think about that. If wood auto ignites at about 500 degrees, give or take, right? That's over twice the temperature. So if the heat from this shit burning around these cars is enough to literally melt the aluminum blocks of the engines into puddles of aluminum goo, it's hot enough to just auto ignite wood within proximity. So just wild. VR, you say Kyle walked by a car and you can see the engine block melted on the ground. Yeah, all the aluminum engine blocks. Any car that had an aluminum engine block just had a puddle under it of metal running down the road. It was freaking wild, man. The MS-32 can burn wood. It can. The flashlight. I have the same one. Yeah, I have a flashlight that'll set wood on fire. Like literally just an LED flashlight. It's not a halogen that like builds a bunch of heat or anything. It's just an LED that projects so much freaking light that it ignites wood. So you can use it to start a campfire. It's actually like one of the demos they have when you buy it. But yeah, if you know anybody that's going through shit with the California fires and stuff, or at least you know anybody who lives down that area, please check in on them and make sure everything's okay.
Yeah.
It's really, really scary. Jeez. Hey, did you want to poo-poo on Nvidia RTX 5090 or anything before you go?
No, just my standard thing. Like, just relax. Get a ticket to the Patience Ferry. The bullshit about 5070s being as equal in performance as the 4090 is marketing talk. It's like with DLSS 4 and their weird AI frame generation stuff and blah blah blah. Like,
I don't even buy it, bro.
Don't buy into this marketing stuff. Like, chill out. If you've got it always ties back to the where we've become, where the community has gotten to in terms of like, everybody is so hard on for like the best of the best of the best stuff, when really the vast majority of people will probably get by on less than a 5070.
No, bro, you need to have at least a 4090 to play any games.
And just I don't know, that always ties back to that weird like elitism that has come up in gaming and tech in general. And I wish there was more talk about like good enough.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, like talking about good enough. Did you see Gamers Nexus's review of the prototype cooler that they found from Nvidia that they're not supposed to have? So he just did. I just watched it yesterday. I think it just came out yesterday. Apparently he got his hands on a prototype 4090, but they don't think it's a 4090. They think that it might be like a 4090 Ti. They never released
this Titan Ti prototype.
Yeah, dude, thing? It's weird. Yeah. It's such a cool card. It takes up 4 slots. This is a Founders Edition card, by the way, that was never released. And the card, cool. The PCB on it is sideways in the slot, so it's all airflow. It's like it's just one giant heatsink. Imagine a heatsink 4 slots wide. Yeah, I don't know why Nvidia didn't ship that thing. That thing's badass
looking. But yeah, and remember all of the 90s, like cast your mind back to the 20 series cards when we still had Titans.
Yep.
Okay, Titan cards.
He did speculate it could be a Titan. Like he does think it's possible.
I saw some headlines of like, oh, they're gonna launch a new Titan card, and it's like, remember when the 2080 Ti was the top end card for the 20 series, and then you had the Titans, the X little P and Titan Black and that kind of stuff. Or I think Black was older, but you know what I mean. The Titan X, the XP, and the X little P, all those in the 20 series. After that, they dropped the Titans and started these 90s. Like, yeah, you're gonna have people who, you know, I was following streamers and tech tubers and stuff at the time who had like dual Titans in their machines and things like that.
I had dual Titan XPs.
The 90s are the Titans, and you have to remember though that the Titans they're still technically a GeForce card, which implies the consumer level gaming angled video card, but it was a bridge between that and a Quadro, right? Like the professional level cards, and that's still what the 90s are supposed to be. It is the top end, best of the best, like, but it's supposed to be like the most extreme. Like even now, I have a 3080 Ti. Like that is the top end consumer card. If I were to get a 3090 or a 4090, that to me should be left more toward for professional workflows or where you're in the sort of prosumer level.
Well, remember they used to have the bridges, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. SLI stuff is all gone.
No. NVLink. Remember the high-speed NVLink bridge that came on the 90 series cards?
Right.
They don't have that anymore. It's completely gone. Now 4090s have the no bridge just like anybody else.
There's no point anymore. If you're going to do memory sharing and stuff like that, you can jump up to the Quadro, or it's not even called Quadros anymore, but whatever, the professional level cards, and you can do you get sync cards and for high bandwidth memory sharing and things like that.
Just to be clear though, NVLink is still alive and well because it just goes through the PCI bus, so it doesn't need a bridge anymore because PCI 4 and 5 can carry the bandwidth.
Right.
So.
And so like I don't know, I would just really appreciate a shift in the general consumer or gaming community and I don't know. I mean, I am a little happy to see the pricing. Like somebody was complaining that the
pricing confused me. I was like, what?
NVIDIA's 5090 is like $2,000. I'm like, dude, that's a perfect price for that level. Look, again, roll back, go back to
the 4090 when it came out was $3,000.
Yeah. I mean,
wasn't it at launch? I want to say it was $3,000.
I want to say, what was the Titan X little P? I think at MSRP around $2,000.
That was Let's see here. What was launch price of 4090? Oh, 1,600. I did. Oh, okay. So I guess it wasn't that bad.
And that's another thing too. As much as Nvidia wants to talk about their 5090 is going to be $2,000, nobody is actually going to sell it for $2,000. You will never see that as an actual retail price.
Interesting. Guaranteed. The Titan XP was $1,199. It was only $1,200.
That's what I'm seeing, but I think that was the 10 series Titan.
It might be because I thought they were $2,000. Yeah, I thought they were at least $2,000.
Yeah.
But look at what you're getting. The thing is, like, look what you're getting now for the price. It's like not just the core count, but the memory.
Yeah.
Like 24 gigs of memory on those cards.
That's part of the thing. Is like, oh man, I need all this extra VRAM. No, you don't. Again, I have a 3080 Ti, right? And I was just by the way, I need to add you on Delta Force, but I was playing around with the Delta Force graphics settings, and it shows you a little bar, right? It tells you how much VRAM you're using, and I most of the time I just let the software decide, right? Just auto settings all the time, and so it set all the auto settings on its own, and I was using less. I think it peaked at like 6 gigs of my 10, I think that I have it, or 12, 10 or 12. I think it's 10 gigabytes of VRAM. And that's everything's extreme. Like it auto set everything to the super maximum, optimized everything tip top 100% max, extreme. And you don't need, I mean, 12 gigs, 8 is probably is perfectly fine for most everybody. 8 gigs of VRAM is more than enough for everybody.
The problem is you need more than that when you start using features like DLSS, which allow ray tracing to work properly, right?
Yeah. Now, if you're going to kick that stuff into gear, sure. But then now again, you're starting to get into a whole different level of stuff. You're going to need a better monitor for that, and all this and that. Like
my assumption is if you buy a graphics card, you want to at least have a monitor that can take advantage of its features, right?
Sure.
So like if you're going to blow the money on like an RTX like 50 or 40 series card, you want to have something that can do variable frame rate. You want something to do at least 120 hertz, right?
I can see. So Bear Williams was saying my 3080 Ti has 12 gigs. I wasn't sure. I've been, man, I don't.
What does the 4080 have? Isn't the 4080 also 6? Isn't it a 16?
I don't know.
What does 4080 memory? Like 16 gigs of GDDR6X.
Jesus, in the 4080.
In the 4080,
that's so much. And then so much VRAM.
And then 12 gig in the 4070.
That's plenty. That is so good. 12 is a lot.
Yeah.
For
the reason that they have more, though, this is what I understand, and I could be wrong, but when you use DLSS, which is like the new shiny, right?
Yeah.
When you use DLSS and you use ray tracing, you need a hell of a lot more VRAM. Like those are the two things that really bump VRAM, because for DLSS to work, you have to be able to store the generated frames before they're displayed. Right. So every frame you're generating, at 120 or 240 hertz, and you're generating, one, and now with the fourth generation of DLSS, you're generating up to 3 intermediate frames. So those 3 intermediate frames have to be saved in memory, right, as they're being generated. So that's going to boost the VRAM usage. And I saw a demo online where somebody did this, where they disabled DLSS, and the memory was using like 6 gig. And then they enabled DLSS, and it went up to 9 gig. So it went over the 8 gig threshold in the game that they were playing. So had they only had 8 gig, they wouldn't have been able to do it. And then the other thing is ray tracing. When you enable ray tracing, that kicks up the VRAM usage, because now not only are you using better textures, because the ray tracing requires you to get rid of all the baked textures and the optimized shit and actually use real textures that the light reflects off of properly.
Right.
And being able to track all the rays and stuff, it has to keep those tables in memory, because you can't trace all rays in real time, right? It's not like they're tracing every photon. What they're doing is they're tracing 1 photon out of every like trillion photons. But even to track that 1 out of a trillion, there's still a shitload of photons to track, and they have to store that in memory as they're doing the tracking to generate the frame. Yeah. So that stuff just eats up memory like a motherfucker.
But part of the problem is we have all of this outrageous performance in these cards that it now has made game developers lazy. Somebody pointed out.
I agree.
Ian in chat says, "I max out COD Warzone. It easily takes up 14 plus gigabytes." Yep. That's because Activision doesn't give a shit and doesn't compress their textures, doesn't compress the fucking audio in their games, and that's why your fucking game takes 300 gigabytes to install, because they don't have to. Right? We've gotten to a point where all of this computer hardware is so powerful that it makes and I hate to pass judgment on something that like I only know a little bit about, but like it's been years and years and years of these games coming out where you try and play you have the hardware that you should be able to play at like max settings and stuff, and you do so, and it's shit performance because they don't optimize their software, and because they don't really have to. One, consumers are just buying the shit and they just do that. But at the same time, they know that the hardware has the horsepower to just kind of push through. They don't have to optimize it.
Yeah. Well, optimization is work, right? I mean, writing the algorithms and everything to get it right without presenting bugs and stuff, that's more work they don't want to do.
Doesn't compression limit quality? Not necessarily.
No, you can do lossless compression.
Yeah. Like there are. I mean, it's also partly of like rebuilding, right? Like you can compress the stuff, and then like how many games do you play now that you have to sit and wait for like 5 minutes for shaders to compile?
Yeah, it's also
Isn't that
not
supposed to be done before the game is freaking published. Like,
surprisingly, I do know a lot about 3D game development, even though me personally, I don't do a lot of 3D game development.
Yeah.
I've been involved in enough of the process when I was at Microsoft working and finding bugs on other things and working with pixel shaders and stuff like that.
Extra streaming.
Where the biggest problem comes in software development is everything's a trade-off. It doesn't matter. Gaming, apps, but in gaming, there is this huge trade-off of loading speed, right? Like loading speed to get to the game versus the quality of the image, the quality of the thing that you're seeing, and the capabilities of the system. So when you're optimizing a game, these are the paths that you can take if you're not a lazy developer, okay? Because my friend still to this day works for Bungie, and I'm not going to say Bungie makes like the most optimized shit in the world, but back in the day, they used to make some pretty optimized stuff. Yeah. And some of the clever tricks that they did to give you like volumetric lighting and make it look like, ray tracing was happening when ray tracing clearly wasn't even a capability of the time. The way that they did that was using all these different techniques that people develop to pre-render things from every possible conceivable angle and then store them in tables. And then when you're running around, it's actually looking up the values in tables instead of trying to compute the math in real time. And they usually call this like baking textures, like baking onto textures. So you basically bake the lighting onto the texture from, if you're not going to be way up here and you're always going to be between here and here, you can render the lighting from like 1,000 different angles, from 1,000 different points, and then just use a lookup table to say what the lighting should be on that texture, and then just load that from and then you use more memory, system memory, but now you need less VRAM. Yeah. You're trading system VRAM. You do the same thing with the hard drive, right? You can load a bunch of the shit into the hard drive and then stream the textures as you're running along. So like as you're entering an area, you can say I'm moving in this area at this speed, which means I'm going to reach this next invisible area that I can't see that's occluded. So I'm going to need to preload these things. And then as you're running, it's using the spare cycles that are available from the CPU to preload all those things and get them rendering before you even get there. Yeah. So and there's some cool demos that you can see during game development, like Unreal and stuff, where you can show that, where the person's running along and you can see where things are in front of their vision, so they can't see the thing behind it. Lazy developers, like Cyberpunk's a great example of this. When Cyberpunk shipped, it ran like shit. Oh yeah. And the reason it ran like shit is because it loaded the entire world into memory. Like and they rendered every object in every frame, even if you couldn't see it. So like little vases and buildings and shit that you couldn't even see through the walls were being rendered and using your processing time. But what you're supposed to do is use an algorithm that looks at your viewport and then says, these are all the things I can physically view that affect a pixel. And if they affect a pixel, include those objects into the algorithm for rendering, ignore everything else. Just dump, so that it's like a culling algorithm that just goes through in its entire purpose. And you'd think that, that's going to slow things down. But no, it's way cheaper to cull the items out than to put them into the rendering pipeline. Because the rendering pipeline takes infinitely more time than to remove them and not render them in the first place. So what a game really looks like when you're running around and you're looking up and you're looking down and you're like swinging around and shit like this, the viewport is only slightly bigger than what you're actually looking at, and it's rendering shit as you're turning your head. Like the GPU is rendering it. The entire world is loaded into memory, like it's loaded into memory, or the portion of the world that you're in is loaded into memory. Yeah. But the actual rendering of it's happening is selective, and that's how you're able to use less VRAM. But you're trading that for more processing power, right? Which
we have plenty of, but like they could be so much better optimized.
Well, that's the problem is because everybody has so much processing power. They're like, fuck it. They're like, just people can just buy in a better graphics card or turn textures down.
You're good. Yeah. And
to be fair, most games aren't even optimized. They just let the engine do it, right? They just use something like Unreal or what's the other one?
Which does pretty well. Unity.
Yeah, Unreal's pretty good. Or Unity, but the thing is, then you compare it to like a highly optimized game like Doom Eternal. Sure. Where they're using like their super highly optimized internal engine that's all based on Vulkan or whatever that does like amazing ray tracing, insane frame rates, even at 4K. Yeah. But you don't get that with Unreal because Unreal has so much overhead to give you the functionality it does. Bro, I know I got to get you out of here, but I appreciate you staying a little late today.
Yeah, that's all right. You guys all have yourselves a wonderful day and all that stuff. I'm AuxxZillary everywhere. I'll see you where I see you. Hope you have a good one. Thanks. Don't let Jerry stream for too long. He probably needs sleep.
No, you're right. I actually slept more than most. I slept 4 hours, which for me is a lot. So
yeah.
But I am this week I am coming back to Twitch, guys. Just so you know, I am finally coming back to Twitch. I haven't streamed this year on Twitch yet.
Well, I mean, it's only been like 11 days.
Still though, that's a lot. That's a lot for me to be on. So I need to get my ass back.
Good. I'm proud of you. Good. Do it up, man.
Yeah, I'm trying. I'm trying. All right, peace out, bro.
Bye, everybody. See ya.
Oh, we love Aux. Oh man, without him, I wouldn't be able to do this. Like seriously, he's having him as a co-host takes my mind off my back pain long enough for me to like get through shit before it creeps in and gets me bad. I felt like I had to throw up this entire stream, but so far I haven't had to run to the bathroom, so that's really good. Pain sucks, man. Fucking pain sucks. Ruins everything. But anyways, let's try to stay on topic and get you guys through the rest of the topics before I have to wrap things up. Because realistically, I should be switching over to Twitch when I don't have Aux on with me. Let's see here. So CES technology. I actually got sent a link, although I lost the tab already. So let me go find it. Let's see. Click on this. I want to link you guys this. I didn't even see this at CES until this popped up. So let me grab this copy. They pasted. So this is one of the links. I'm guessing this is CES. I don't know if this is actual CES or not. Let me scroll up the top and see if it is. Let's see. Yep, this is CES. Okay, so I didn't see this at all until Networking Guy just sent me a link to it, and this looks badass. So it's like a keyboard that physically changes like its layout. And by physically, I mean it's like literally using motors to slide out different keyboard halves to let you change between a touchable surface, a 10 key, and two halves of a keyboard. It looks super clever. It looks like they're this honestly just looks like they're using linear rails, like from a 3D printer, and the linear rails are just sliding out the keyboard, and so it pops down the other one. The other one slides down, and it just pushes out in front of it. Really, really clever design. I actually quite like that. I think that's cool as shit. Did you guys see it? I hope you guys can see if you click on the link. I wish I could just bring it up here. Can I just add here? I have an idea. Wait, can I click on this? Here, what if I do this? Here, let me go into studio mode. I want to duplicate this frame. Duplicate. I'm going to call it browser. Okay, and then under browser, I'm going to do something here. Give me a second. I want to open up, what's it called? Not Proxmox. Starts with a P. The remoting software. Parsec. Ah, there it is. Okay, I knew I'd get it eventually. Okay, let me open up Parsec, see if my VM's running here. Hyper-V. Let me fire it up really quick because I have a VM that I erected, ladies. I created a VM for live streaming because a lot of people said they want to be able to see the screen and see what I'm doing, but I don't want to do it on my main computer because I have way too much sensitive information on here and I don't want to always have to keep track of it. And you screw up once and that's forever. You know, it takes for fucking ever to recover from that shit. So instead, I just created a VM that I can fuck around with. So let me Parsec into that bad boy because it's got full 3D acceleration because I used a cool trick where I can pass through the hardware. Of course, right now it's being a total dick and it can't connect because it doesn't like NordVPN for some reason, but I told it to go through, ad tracker and blocker, anti-malware. I don't want any of that. Disable that. Hold on. I got to do something. Go to Nord. Go into properties. Hold on. Kill switch. Nope. What am I looking for here? My brain is fucking fried. That's why you guys haven't seen a lot of me lately, man. My pain level's been making it impossible to sleep, and that's been laying me up. I'm just perpetually napping. Why can't I find... What is it called? Oh, split tunneling. That's what I'm looking for. Okay, is Parsec... Yeah, Parsec is already under split tunneling, so why the hell is Parsec having a problem? Here, you know what I'm going to do? Here, let me kill Parsec. Quit Parsec. Let me reopen it, because maybe it was open before I did the split tunneling. Let me try now. Connect. Your device must support IPv6, even though you're using IPv4. It did this before. For some reason, when I'm using NordVPN, it disables IPv6. But I don't recall telling it to disable IPv6. Now, let me see. General. Is there any IPv6 setting on here? Launched. IPv6. Nope. Connection. Anything with IPv6. What the fuck is post-quantum encryption? Secure your VPN connection with quantum-resistant encryption only available with NordLynx protocol? What? I never saw that before. I'm going to have to enable that later. I don't want to disrupt the connection, though, so I'm not going to enable that right now. Okay, fuck it. I'll just use the regular remote desktop protocol since we don't need any 3D acceleration. Hey, Pro DVD. Thank you so much, man. He said, thanks for fixing the YouTube music thing last week. I couldn't stay after sending the chat as it was already 4 a.m. in the Philippines and I was barely awake. Hey, no worries. And thank you so much, man. I appreciate you sponsoring the channel. I truly do. All right. You know what I'm going to do here? Let me do this. So get rid of this. Get rid of this. Change the resolution. Come on. Display settings. Scale. I want to do 4K. What? I can't do 4K and remote desktop protocol. Why? My God, Windows, I hate you so much sometimes. Seriously. It's a love-hate relationship. You know what? Fuck it. This will be fine. Let me just use this. I'm trying to go to a web page. That's all I want to do. I'm just trying to show a web page. It's not rocket science here. Let me grab this, copy a link, go to here. All right, I think I've almost got it here, guys. Okay, paste. Okay, why can I not paste to the VM session? Do I got to install some stupid tools for Hyper-V or some bullshit? Here, DVD drive. Eject. No, I don't want to do that. Settings. Why does everything have to be so fucking hard these days? All I want to do is install the tools, the VM tools, under the remote desktop protocol that allow me to change the resolution and do a copy and paste. Is it really that fucking hard? Why does everything have to be so hard, guys? Here, hide from toolbar. This is what happens when you don't get any sleep. Oh, by the way, Blue Varo, thank you for the $5 earlier. I really appreciate that. I don't know if I called that back. He said, oh, and the houses are built so close together. Yeah, with the fires in California, exactly. When the houses are so close like that, everything just goes up like really easy. Let me go back to main here. Let me disable studio mode. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out why in the hell IPv6 gets disabled. Oh, wait, hold on. Can I do this? Hold on. Network connections. So what if I do this? I have an idea. So under Nord links, since that's the adapter I'm using, can I go in and provide? Okay, IPv6 is already enabled on Nord links. So why is it saying I need IPv6? It's already there. Properties. IPv6 is enabled. Tailscale. Do you have IPv6? You should have IPv6. By the way, if you guys haven't used Tailscale, it's freaking awesome. Oh, Tailscale didn't have IPv6 enabled. Let me enable that. Hold on. Okay, Tailscale now has IPv6. And my Hyper-V Ethernet adapter also has IPv6. So everything has IPv6. So I don't know why Parsec is saying it can't connect. It's like your device must support IPv6 if you're using IPv4. But the funny thing is, if I disable NordVPN, then it just works. So it's got to be some NordVPN setting. Even with split tunneling, it thinks IPv6 is disabled. I don't know why. I don't know why the hell it needs IPv6 though. I don't use IPv6 for anything else, so I don't know why it's being a butthole. Oh well, I'll have to keep giving you guys links for now, but we're gonna fix that in the not too distant future because I would like to be able to show you guys everything that's going on the screen. And I did all the work to actually get it to work with full. So I have full graphics acceleration in a VM now. So not emulated, like actual full graphics emulation. So not emulation, full graphics pass through. It's a pain in the ass because Microsoft makes everything a pain in the ass because Microsoft is Microsoft, right? So what I had to do is there's a script on GitHub, a PowerShell script. And this PowerShell script is years old. It's like 3 years old. I'm surprised it still works today, though. And what you have to do is you have to create a VM and Hyper-V under Windows 11. It works in Windows 10, too. So under Windows 10 or Windows 11, it works with AMD and Nvidia graphics cards. So you basically have to take and create the VM. Then when you log into the VM, it has the, the Hyper-V graphics adapter or whatever, like the little emulated graphics adapter that doesn't have any 3D acceleration, runs like shit. Why not run VirtualBox locally? Because VirtualBox does not have the full pass-through hardware acceleration. That's why I'm using Hyper-V. Hyper-V is the only VM so far that I've used. I think Proxmox can do it too, but I don't want to run Proxmox above my Windows 11. But with Hyper-V, you have to jump through some hoops, but you can get a full pass-through, which means you open up Device Manager on the Windows 11 VM, and it literally has RTX 4090 and full access to the 24 gigs of VRAM and full access to the full hardware capabilities of the graphics card, which is amazing. You do lose some performance, but it's not a terrible amount. Like I can literally play Doom Eternal, 4K, ray tracing, everything maxed out, literally in a Windows 11 VM running under Hyper-V in Windows 11. That's how good it is. And I have yet to find, I've tried that on VMware. VMware has some 3D hardware acceleration, but it's very limited. You can't do stuff like ray tracing and DLSS and all the shit that like NVIDIA supports. But this passes it through. But the downside to this is you have to run an external PowerShell script with a shitload of variables that's a pain in the ass that copies all of the driver stuff from the host operating system into the virtual hard disk of the VM. They both have to be so they can run. You can have like a Windows 10 VM or a Windows 8 VM and a Windows 11, but they have to have a compatible drivers model. If they don't have a compatible driver model, it doesn't work. So, but it works amazing when you get it. When you actually get it working, it works amazing because then you can open up Device Manager. Like right now, I'm in a Windows 11 VM running under my Windows 11, and if I open up display adapters, I have Hyper-V Video, which is the default one. I have Parsec Virtual Display Adapter, which is what I use for remoting into the VM and having like a full hardware accelerated experience with no lag, no perceivable lag. And then it has the Nvidia RTX 4090, like actually loaded. The only downside is if you try to open up, and I don't know why this is, I haven't figured it out yet, but if you try to open up like Nvidia control panel, it'll tell you there's no display. It says there is no Nvidia graphics card detected in your system. So you can't open up the control panel, the Nvidia control panel to tweak the settings. However, you can open up any application with like ray tracing or whatever, and it completely sees the graphics card and can utilize all of its features. I can open up a browser and navigate to like crazy games and load up like HTML5 games, 4K full screen, 120 hertz, and they all run perfectly, which no other VM setup I've been able to do other than Hyper-V has been able to achieve that. So what sucks though is I don't get why Microsoft doesn't just build this in. Like, why do I have to use some jank ass PowerShell script that like from 3 years ago published by some third party to GitHub to utilize this? Like, why can't I just create a VM and have an option under VM settings that's like, I want to share the physical hardware graphics adapter with the host instead of having just emulated graphics be your only option? I think it's stupid. Now, the downside is anytime I update my driver on the host, if I don't run the script again with the update flag to, you know, copy all the new drivers to the guest, they mismatch and it breaks. So if I try to like boot up the VM without copying the new graphics drivers after updating the host, it'll literally just show it banged out in the device manager and I get no video. So that's the one thing that does suck, is you have to remember that every time you update your drivers on the host, don't forget to also run the script again to update them on your VMs. Oh, by the way, you can use multiple VMs too. Like I can have 3 VMs running. Windows 11, like, you know, we'll have one run on Windows 11, one run on Windows 10 Home, one run in Pro. And all 3 of them can use the RTX 4080. And all 3 of them, you can open up Device Manager. You can see the GPU. You can see its resources. The only downside is they're not aware of each other. So like if you use like, you know, 24 gigs of VRAM, you know, and then you try to use the VRAM in the host, it'll crash because it thinks the memory's there, but it's not. So you just want to make sure that when you're using it in the VM, you don't exceed the total VRAM of the card. Let's see here. Oh, interesting. Why isn't it showing the GPU resources? I see CPU, memory, disk, Ethernet, and Ethernet. Oh, it's probably because I'm a remote desktop. Never mind. Through remote desktop, it's not going to show. It will through Parsec. If you guys don't know what Parsec is, it's a really high-speed VM software. It's really cool. Think of it like the remoting software in Nvidia for like playing games on remote computers, except for instead of playing games, it's the entire Windows desktop. We get a 5090 next month. Hey, Piss Bucket, congratulations, man. I'm not going to be able to get a 5090 or any of the 50 series cards because I don't have the reach anymore with all my health problems and shit and my life just going to shit in a handbasket. I just don't have the value to give to Nvidia anymore for them to send me a card. So I'm going to be on this 4090 for a good long time to come. But the nice thing is the 4090 is no slouch, right? It's got 24 gig of VRAM. It has still has a shitload of tensor cores. It's still heavy lifting. It's still 550 watts. I can get it up to. Hell, I've gotten it to touch 600 before, but it can't sustain 600 forever. But 550 sustained on air forever. It runs everything I ask of it. Like there's no experience. The only thing that could be improved is like in like Flight Simulator 2024. Obviously, I can't max out every single setting in VR at 120 hertz and have it run without using some DLSS. And DLSS does create motion artifacts that are noticeable if you look for them, especially in VR. VR makes the DLSS like blur shit stand out. As a matter of fact, same thing on PlayStation 5 Pro. Like playing Gran Turismo 7, you can enable PSSR, you know, the super resolution, and you can also enable their version of DLSS that's called like something projection. And you can definitely see like when you're flying around corners and there's fast moving objects, especially with like text on them and stuff, you can see the text kind of blur and ghost a little bit. And so it's not the greatest experience in the world. And with VR making everything really big and in your face, it definitely stands out. Wait, I think that's because Nvidia blocks you since it's a consumer card and not one of the pro cards. Wait, what is Nvidia blocking? Oh, you mean for the VM stuff? Oh, you think they don't want you sharing the card through? Well, I don't know. Can the professional cards share through? That's the thing is, like, I think, don't you have to do the same process for the professional cards? Because I can't think of any setting that you would get with, like, a Quadro card that you're not getting here unless they have, like, some software you can download or install that doesn't work on the other cards. Oh, yeah, the Flight Simulator is definitely a poorly optimized networking guy. Flight Simulator is hella unoptimized. Very, very unoptimized. Oh, UTP says they can. Okay, cool. Well, using the PowerShell script, it works fantastic. So I've had no problems passing the 4090 through. As a matter of fact, the other night I played Crazy Games for probably about a half an hour in the VM, just because I was testing the graphics pass-through, and it worked fine. It worked fantastic. So what I'm hoping that allows me to do is now I'll have a VM, but now in hindsight, I just thought about it. It's like I have a Titan XP. It's not a very powerful card by anybody's stretch of the imagination, but I do have a Titan because I gave away my third fastest GPU to my friend Graham because he really needed it for stuff he was doing. And so I no longer have the 3070, but I do have, I think, the Titan XP. I don't have any of the 20 series cards anymore. So I think the next fastest card I have is a Titan XP. But I do have a system, my old system with the Titan XP in it. I'm like wondering if I should run Proxmox on that and spawn a couple VMs and then connect to that using Proxmox over my little local network with my high speed. I got a 10 gig switch that Adam gave me for Unify. I could probably use that, and then I wouldn't have to run the VM on here at all. Right? So running the VM locally definitely gives me a little less lag because I'm not going through the network stack out through the network. I'm just staying locally on the computer going through 127.0.0.1 loopback. At least I think I am. I'm not 100% sure with Parsec. Parsec might force me through some server bullshit, but I'm not sure. But it would be cool to be able to run on bare metal. Like maybe not even put a virtualization on it. Maybe my old workstation, I just install Windows 11 on it, connect to it with Parsec, and then just run directly on hardware with no virtualization at all. And then I can use that as my nested box when I'm live streaming. So if I want to play a game or do something, no, because the game's going to run like shit and look like shit on a Titan XP. So I still would benefit from running it on the native hardware. Never mind. I'm talking myself out of shit. Yeah, if you guys want to know how to share any Nvidia GPU, like consumer level GPU with a Hyper-V host, hit me up over on Discord in general, or on X, or on Blue Sky. Just tag me, because I'd be more than happy to tell you how to do it, tell you where the script is, what the command line is to do it, the steps. I could even I should make a video on how to do it, because I don't think I've seen anybody else make a video on how to do it, but I'm sure there's some out there. But just because somebody else creates a video doesn't mean you shouldn't. That's another thing you should know as a content creator. Oh my god, sorry, my brain is just fucking rotten right now. So as far as CES, sorry guys, I am hitting a wall fast. But hopefully I'll be doing a lot better on Monday, because on Monday I get my pain management taken care of for a couple of weeks again. Like I said, I can't ever be completely out of pain. I just have to have pain management for a couple of weeks on and off. Let's see here. Have you ever seen they sell radar car detection for bicycles? No, I haven't seen that. That's pretty damn cool though. Dude, I love Wendell. Wendell's amazing. Hey, take it easy, Gentle Stone. Yeah, no, Wendell's amazing. I love Wendell. He is a super stand-up guy, and he's a freaking genius. He's one of those dudes where I just love just sitting down and shooting the shit about stuff, because it's like he knows so much about everything. It reminds me of myself when I was a lot younger. Dwarfstan said, you can connect full fat graphics through remote desktop. There is a group policy that you can edit to let the host pass the full graphics through. DeWolfsden, if you can get me that information and it actually works, I will be so happy, bro. Could you hit me an off topic on Discord? Could you go over to my Discord and off topic and point me to the group policy or the steps involved? Because everything I've tried to pass through graphics, I have not gotten full hardware accelerated graphics on through remote desktop. I think you might be talking about the limited hardware acceleration, but it's still severely limited. Like it can't pass through like a video game playing full on DirectX 12. You can get like hardware accelerated graphics in the browser, but I haven't seen one where it works universally across the entire operating system, giving you the full RTX 4090 and all of its options. However, if this group policy does pan out and it gives me full hardware acceleration through remote desktop and I don't have to use Parsec anymore, oh my god, bro, I will be so happy. So what was your guys' favorite thing? You've been watching CES coverage, probably same as me. Have you guys seen anything that's caught your eye? There's quite a bit of cool shit at CES this year. This would have been a CES I would have loved to have attended. the thing that seemed like a common theme, and it may just be because LG's presence was massive this year, like the pretty much biggest booth there by far, took up like half the venue. They're really pushing the whole curved micro LED stuff hard. So am I going to take a look at SteamOS? Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, no, I'd love to take a look at SteamOS when it's more officially released to install on x86 architecture. Everything you can't afford. Hey, you and me both, brother. CES, you and me both. I will say that the micro LED stuff looked like it dominated a lot of CES, like LG's see-through chandelier thing, their massive micro LED screen, the wall getting the panels with no spacing between them, curved screens, automated curved screens, rolling up screens, big emphasis on bending screens, like because micro LED screens generate their light. They don't need a rigid backlight, micro LED backlight. They're very bendable. The panels are very flexible. So you can like roll them up into a sheet of paper now. So they're taking that and implementing it into a bunch of electronics. So now instead of just folding phones, now we have like folding laptops, folding tablets. One of the things that did catch my eye, but I hate folding screens. And if you want to know why I hate folding screens, it's because they all have a plastic cover instead of a glass cover. So they just don't look right to the eye. And whatever plastic part rolls up or bends always gets a crease. Doesn't matter. It could be really minor, but it's enough that it refracts the light differently and it just stands out to me like crazy. However, Lenovo made a really cool laptop. Let me see if I can pull it up here. CES laptop 2025. They made this laptop that's freaking cool. Like the screen like extends out to be like twice the length of the laptop. Here, let me give you guys a link. This shit's crazy. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's going to fucking break like crazy. There's no way anybody that buys this. If I don't even know if it's a product you can buy. I mean, CES shows a lot of prototype shit that never goes to market. But if you could buy this laptop, one, I don't think the screen's going to last very long at all. I genuinely don't think it is because it's having to roll it up and crease it. But I do love that this laptop just basically gets a boner. I think it's cool. I think it's cool because instead of like having a big screen, where you have a huge laptop, you have a small laptop, but then it can like roll out into a giant portrait perspective. What would make it cooler is if you could rotate it. So if it could like expand out like that and then you could rotate it so it was like wider than the keyboard and you had like a big screen, that'd be super cool. So like if they made a mechanism where, it slid up and then the two screen, then after it extends, you could flip it around sideways, that'd be pretty baller. But one, durability is going to be a huge issue with this. But I do like the screen size compared to the laptop size. Like it literally is a TARDIS effect. It truly is bigger on the inside. I will say not for me. Like I just don't like the bending screen technology until they can find a way to unfold the screen and have it be perfectly flat and feel like glass. I'm not interested. But I still have to admit it is cool. It is a cool use of the technology. Also, they had another screen. It was like a $65,000 transparent micro LED screen that could like roll down into like a little square thing. So it could be a partition between two walls in a building. I thought that was pretty cool, but the price was way, way too high for it to ever be useful to anybody outside of a professional setting. I thought that the VR stuff, the haptic VR stuff was interesting to me. A lot of haptic VR stuff at CES this year. I like the idea of having like, more advanced haptic sensors on your wrists, elbows, legs, chest, back, so that you can, and even on the headset. Like there was one company that made a haptic pad. So like your VR headset, right? So you got your VR headset. So this gets replaced with a pad that has haptic sensors all the way around your eyes. And then that goes off the controller, and then you can simulate things hitting you in the face. So like if somebody shoots you in the head, it can actually like simulate like a little bump, like you got hit in the face with a bullet, which I think would be actually pretty immersive. Or if you're like driving a car and you're accelerating, it can put pressure on your face, varying pressure and vibration to make it feel like the wind is hitting your face as you're driving along or flying an airplane or something like that. That seemed pretty cool to me. I like that. I like the idea of like being able to register full body hits, but not just have like a vibration in a central area, but feel it very localized with an array of like, dozens of sensors. I thought it was pretty cool. Did I see the robot suit that Honda built? Looked wild. No, I didn't see that. I saw the Honda car. I didn't see the suit. What is it, like a is it like an exoskeleton thing? They unveiled an AI masturbator at CES too. They usually do have some adult stuff at CES. When I went to CES, they had some adult stuff there too. Don't they usually have it behind closed doors? Like you have to actually like go in to look at it. I don't think it's like out in the open. I think you have to actually like, it's in the backwoods. You have to like go in and get a demo. Domestic violence simulator. That'd be so bad, dude. So bad. You still wish phones had IR LEDs for using phones as remote controls? Yeah, that is sad that that's gone. But now we have the little yellow hacker devices, something sharks, fucking brain melting. Oh yeah, this thing. Now we have flippers, not shark, flipper zeros, man. So now you got your little IR emitter right there, and it's a receiver too. IR receiver and sender. We'll keeping it old school, baby. You think the Honda suit does have a human inside? Not sure though. I'll have to check that out. The robotic stuff is getting good though. I do have to say the robotic demos that they had at CES were pretty badass. Like, except for was Tesla even there? Was Tesla there with their shitty robot that's like fucking bolted to the floor? I didn't see anything from CES talking about Tesla's Optimus robot, but I'll tell you what, all the other companies presenting robots, way better. Every robot I saw there was better than Optimus. Like way more usable, way cheaper to manufacture. Old Elon, he's just shooting for the moon these days. But I guess when you got all the money in the world and all the ketamine you can hold inside of your body without physically dying, you can just pretty much do whatever you want. Nobody can stop you. Guys, I think I need to call it. However, I'm gonna get some rest. Ah, shit, I can't call it now. Joe Taji just gave me $20, man. Woo, Joe Taji! He said, hey, Barnabud, been lurking, enjoying the stream. For sharing the VM on stream, you could do NDI or maybe view only VNC. Hope you're having a great day. Ooh, I didn't try VNC. NDI would be good for showing it. I'd use NDI for showing it inside of... Actually, that's not a bad idea, but the problem is I can't use it. So I need to be able to use the VM like on the desktop with full hardware acceleration. If I just wanted to show it on stream without physically needing to use it, then NDI would make sense. However, I suppose I could manipulate it through remote desktop and then have it stream from NDI so that you guys see the full hardware acceleration, whereas I just see like the janky ass low frame rate version. But that would drive me nuts. But it's a good suggestion. VNC, on the other hand, I didn't even consider. So VNC would probably work really good. Let's see here. Why didn't I consider VNC? I'm installing it right now. I didn't even think about that. So VNC. Let me open it up here. All right, so real VNC viewer. I totally forgot about this. I actually had it like in my folder for install, meaning it's something that I've had installed before. Sign in to get started. Oh, wait, you have to sign. Wait, no, use it without signing in. Okay, there is a button. Okay, so I got my address, enter VNC server, or address to search. Does VNC, like, is it full? Does it send a full video signal? I don't remember. So, real VNC viewer. OBS has both options. Did you see VLC getting AI translation? I did not. Dude, Boston Dynamics kicks ass. Boston Dynamics is still like my front runner. Like they're my favorite. Let me try that. I want to hear. Let me see. Let me install VNC on this bad boy. Would anybody in chat say is real VNC better than Parsec? Here, download real VNC. I mean, I'm gonna try it. Let's see. Okay, so install. There we go. Accept the license. There we go. Installing. There we go. It's installed now. So, real VNC viewer without signing in. All right. So file. I can do a new connection. Let's see. Oh, it says, wait, it has licensing. Does that mean that like half the functionality isn't available? Okay, so I need a VNC server. Wait, do I have to download VNC server separately? Like, because there's a viewer and hold on here. Let's do VNC server. Ah, got it. Okay, so you have to download the server components separately. All right, here we go. Download real VNC server. Open. I want to, yeah, let me play with this. Okay, VNC printer driver, add an exception for firewalls. Okay, I am now installing the server. Okay, sign in to license VNC server. Oh, shit. So you can't, oh, don't have an account, forgot password. Oh, so you have to create an account just like with Parsec. That sucks, man. I wanted something that I didn't have to have a fucking account to use. Let's see what it has though. Connect both desktop mobile devices. Full end-to-end session encryption, session recording, advanced multi-factor authentication, cloud and direct LAN connectivity, granular access user permissions, remote printing, real-time chat and file sharing. I'm gonna play with this later because I want to see if it's as good as Proxmox. It looks like you can sign up for free. Okay, sign in, use an email address that you use to create your real VNC account online. And there's no option to... It says I have to register it. Like, wait, do you have to register? Does the server cost money or... I'll have to fuck with this later. I'm not going to sit here and fuck with it right now because I'm going to forget you guys are there. Oh, I got the out of memory bug on YouTube that I always get. Use tight VNC server. You don't need an account. Oh, so is VNC like, is it like an open source standard? So somebody made like a free version of the server software? Oh, sweet. Well, I would way rather use that. All right, here, let me look it up. What's it called? Tight VNC? Tight. Okay, tight VNC. Is it compatible with the real VNC viewer, or do you also need a tight VNC server? Hold on, it's trying to download it here. It's thinking about it. Any day now. All right, I'm going to remove the VNC server that I just installed because I don't want to create an account. Remove. Dude, it's getting so hard to concentrate. All right, here we go. Okay, VNC. I want to remove the server. Uninstall. Leave the viewer. That's fine. All right, yes. And does VNC use like video? Does it transmit video, or is it like remote desktop protocol where it's like rendering the individual components and stuff to make it like really lightweight and fast? Okay, why is this struggling? I just want to download tight VNC. Why is this giving me such a hard time? Is the website down? It's weird. I'm trying to go to the tight VNC website, but it's like, it looks like it's down right now. Either that or Bing. No, actually, it looks like Bing is not redirecting. Shit, I don't know why. It's everything else works. It just won't let me go to that website. Hey, Michael Media, thank you for the $2. I appreciate that, bro. Woo! He said, "How's the old Subaru, Barn?" I haven't driven my Subaru since my last doctor's appointment over a month and a half ago. So I probably should go out and see if the battery's dead again. I definitely should drive it more because I really need to sell it, but I think I'm going to sell it this summer because I wanted to go to somebody who can enjoy it because like right now with my back all fucked up, I cannot drive that car like it was meant to be driven. Don't get me wrong. I still absolutely love driving it, but it's too much of a car for me to own my back this fucked up. Yeah, I cannot get to tight VNC. Hey, have you guys been able to open up the tight VNC website? It is not opening for me anywhere. Oh, wait, hold on. So wait a second. What the fuck? Why will it not load in the VM, but it loads fine on my desktop computer? I am perplexed. Type vnc.com. This is really bizarre. Well, let me go to speedtest.net, make sure it's working. Yep, that works. So tightvnc.com. Yeah, this is weird. There's some weird shit going on here. Oh, DeWolfsten, thank you so much, man. Let me go look at that here in a second. So I can download. So let me download the installer for TightVNC here. Save as. Do I need the TightVNC viewer too? Like, do I need TightVNC viewer and server, or can I use the full-blown real VNC with the TightVNC server? I guess I'll have to find out, right? So okay, so that's the client. Where's the server? Here it is. Okay, server for Windows. They do have a licensing option. Okay, I'll just have to figure it out. This is weird. This is super fucking weird. Why? I can go to every other website from my VM. So this is my VM sharing my network connection. I can go to every other site except for TightVNC, yet from my desktop I can go to TightVNC. So, oh, I know what it is. I know what it is because I'm going through NordVPN on my host, and I'm not going through NordVPN. So my regular internet connection, the route to TightVNC right now is down. But going through my VPN, it's a different route, so it's able to reach the site. Okay, never mind. I answered my own question. Just took me a second to get there because my brain is fried. Here, let me go look at Discord really quick and see an off topic what this group policy is. Because man, if I can get full hardware acceleration working through remote desktop, that would be badass. But everything I've tried to do it did not work. Okay, so this is the remote FX stuff. I don't think this actually fixes it, but I'm willing to try. Holy shit, this is a lot of steps, bro. Yeah, this is probably not something I can do during the course of the stream. Here, I'll give you guys the link. This is the link that I was given by DeWolfsden for enabling hardware acceleration. Let's see, when was this article written? Because I think they might have disabled this in Windows 11. Let me see. So remote FX. Well, fuck it. Let's try it. Does this have to be done on... Okay, so some software, such as civil engineering software, use powerful display graphics, GPU processing units for quick rendering of the display. However, running engineering software and other graphics-heavy software in a remote desktop environment can be challenging. Yep, no shit, Sherlock. Starting up the graphics-heavy software can generate errors as the software attempts to initialize DirectX and OpenGL, blah, blah, blah. To fix this issue, okay, GP edit, go into group policy, remote FX for Windows Server 2008 R2. Oh, shit. Does this mean you have to run Windows Server 2008 R2 for this to work? Because I am not running Windows Server 2008 R2. It also doesn't say if it needs to be enabled on the client. Or let me see if this works in this is a really old article. Let's see here. Remote FX Windows 11. Update to disable and remove the Remote FX vGPU component in Windows. Ah, fuck. Yeah, they took it out. It's deprecated. Remote FX vGPU was removed from Windows 10 version 1809 and is no longer available. Yep, I remembered something. When I saw Remote FX, I knew it wasn't going to work because I tried something with Remote FX in it like a year or two ago, and it didn't work, and I went and looked, and it was because it was deprecated and they removed it. And you know why they probably removed it? Because it was a great feature, but I guarantee you they removed it because they wanted people to buy higher end cards that natively did it, like the Quadros and stuff, like the business versions of the cards. Man, that's ass. Isn't that just ass? That's pure unadulterated ass is what that is, my friends. Always. Real VNC is weird too. It's great when it's working well. Well, the thing I like is, like, Parsec is great. Parsec is great. It's, like, super fast. The graphics look great, even at 4K, 120 hertz. 4K, 120 hertz with 10-bit color. It looks great. Like, it works great. However, they want like a monthly fee. Like you can't just buy a license and own it for life. You have to pay that stupid monthly fee shit to use the warp features, which give you 4x4x4 color, which I would quite like, and HDR support. Which you don't get neither one of those. But I don't do a lot of shit with HDR unless I'm gaming. If I'm gaming, I enable HDR. But on my desktop, I leave HDR disabled because Windows 11 it does not display anything correctly with HDR involved. Hey guys, I'm getting pretty physically ill right now, so I gotta take off. But it was great seeing you guys again. I got to get started up on Twitch streaming again. I've just been laid up these last couple of weeks. It's been bad. It's been bad, but you know, once a week I'm able to drag my ass out of bed with AuxxZillary helping me and get myself up here and with the help of something I pay for every time. I'm not supposed to have energy drinks, but this is like literally between this and the pain meds, it's the only thing that gets me through the show right now. But I'm trying to claw my way back. I'm trying to get to a point where I can work through everything and get back on here and have some fun with you guys and do some cool stuff with AI and programming and 3D printing. But lately I've been so unreliable and so unable to really like even get up and move without hurting myself to the point where I'm laid up again. It just makes it really hard to plan anything or to do anything on a schedule. But I'm working on it. But I just want to say I thank you guys so much for hanging out and still sticking around, even through this shitty chapter of my life. But, you know, just like anything else, it's only going to last for a little while. I have no choice but to fight my way out of this, because if I don't, then I'm done, and then I have to disappear, and then I would never be able to see you guys again, and I don't want that to happen. So I'm going to do my best to try to turn things around in the time that I have allotted, and look back on this as just a downside. I thought Adderall was your fix for energy. No, Adderall helps. Don't get me wrong. Adderall absolutely helps. I took it today and it helped tremendously. But the energy isn't the problem. The pain and the exhaustion. It's like the Adderall helps, but it's no replacement for sleep. Bruh, you just got to stream from a comfy spot on your laptop. The problem is there's no comfy spot. I thought about streaming from the bedroom, but I can't even get comfy in bed to the point where I can like sit somewhere stationary with a camera. I'd just be flopping around the whole time. But maybe the hot tub. The hot tub, hot tub live streams aren't the greatest because I don't have access to like a computer. We can't do like gaming and programming and 3D printing and stuff. But at least in the hot tub, that's the one place where I do feel normal, but I can only stay in there for a max of an hour and a half before I start getting like heart palpitations, even with the temperature turned down. You guys are awesome, though. I love your face. I see you, Ron. Ron, thank you so much, man. Thank you, Illuminate. You guys are awesome. But the next time you see me, it'll be on Twitch, for sure. Is it possible to stream from a VR headset? Yeah. No, I've actually been wanting to look into some more VR streaming. I did a little bit of streaming of, like, racing around in Gran Turismo in VR from my bedroom. And sadly, not a lot of people enjoyed it. Like, a couple people did, but, like, a lot of people didn't like it at all. So that was kind of a step backwards. But, people prefer me in front of the desk, in front of a camera, talking to them directly. That's what the vast majority of people want. But I just got to get my environment to a point where I can be more comfortable. I got to try to get a different chair, but I'm not in a position to get a different chair right now. But hopefully at some point I can get a different chair that's like more comfortable and a little bit more supportive and maybe can help with the SI joint issues. But until then, Monday, I should have my pain medication, and that should buy me a little bit more comfort for at least, a couple of weeks. We'll see how it goes. All right. Well, I love you guys. I really do. Thank you so much for hanging out this week with us. And hopefully I'll see you either tomorrow or Monday on Twitch. And then definitely again next week. All right. Peace out, guys. Later. Oh, yeah. Definitely come over to Discord and hit me up. Tag me in general or tag me on X or Blue Sky. I'm on all those platforms now. You can always find me just at Barnacules.